Here. Test. Okay.
Hello, hello. Test.
Okay. Hey, well, please join us in a moment of silent reflection as we pause to remember several residents and others who have passed away since the last council meeting. These include Suzanne Sue Krofchek, Hamatsu Hatsumi Whitehead, Beth Mary Bell Norden, Linda Lee Holland, and Jackie Brock Magnus. Please join us as we pause. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Pope, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Councilmember Fritz, would you like to lead us in the community pledge?
One moment as I pull up the text. The strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people. By sharing together, we are all enriched. We strive to be a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair.
Well, thank you very much. So let me quickly say this. We hold council meetings 2 times a month, except for August and December, on Mondays to set policy and to take formal actions. Tonight's session is open to the public, as are all council sessions and meetings, except for executive sessions as authorized by state law. Residents can observe our deliberations, and we'll pause periodically to take public comment. If you wish to speak during those designated periods, if you're here in person, just raise your hand. After being recognized, you can go over to the podium. You'll need to state your name and to provide a general address of where you live. And if you are on Zoom, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit a written question, or you can raise your virtual hand, and once again, you'll need to provide a name and an address so that you can speak. And finally, if you are watching on cable TV or on YouTube or Facebook live streaming, send us an email. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. Limit those public remarks to 3 minutes, 5 minutes during petitions and requests, and address the topic under consideration. We ask that you remain civil and avoid disparaging others and questioning their motives. So that's going to take us to the next section of the agenda, which is petitions and requests. So individuals wishing to request action from the city can submit petitions or ask a question, or to the city manager pose a question, or city council, either in writing or by speaking at a council meeting for up to 5 minutes. And we will hear these petitions, but we will not make immediate decisions or responses at the meeting. They're recorded by our clerk, and the city manager and city administration will research and will actually provide a course of action that will address your petition. So let me go ahead and ask the question right now. Are there any petitions or requests? I see a hand back there. Please, sir.
Thank you. New Orleans resident. I note that on the consent agenda tonight, there's reference to the council having interviewed 3 individuals for appointment to the Board of Elections and or the Green Team. And it goes on to say that approval of this consent agenda item will confirm council's intent to appoint. That's fine. The reason I'm standing here before you is that at the conclusion or near the conclusion of that interview session, it was announced, I should say, there having been several long pauses during the interview session, I guess while council was waiting for applicants to arrive virtually. But none, and with those long pauses, one can't know whether council was conversing themselves during that period of time because there was a pause in on the stream. But nearing the conclusion of the interview session, it was announced by the mayor that there were some administrative items to be discussed, and the request was made of the acting clerk to remove the public who was listening. I simply would like to know the basis upon which administrative items, the basis in the statute, the basis upon which administrative items would preclude the public from listening to what council had to say. And I look forward to that in writing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Are there any other petitions or requests? Is there anybody online right now? Okay. Well, as I mentioned, all petitions and requests are logged by the clerk, and the city administration will take a look at them and will respond in writing, or will respond with the best course of action for us to take. So we do appreciate hearing from residents and others, and rest assured that we will respond as is appropriate. So at this time, we need to take care of a little bit of business. The consent agenda. Are there any modifications to the consent agenda? I think we have to remove meetings from there.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I move. Do you want me to move to remove the meetings? Can we remove meetings from this consent agenda, please, and add it to the regular agenda?
Okay, and that would be added to that would be item number
18.
18. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. And then that's going to bring us to the agenda. If there are no modifications, could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Fritz has seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much. So at this time, we're going to go to the communications section of the agenda. And I have a proclamation I'm going to read quickly. This is about American Heart Month. February is a month of the year where people turn their attention to cardiovascular health. So even though it's halfway, 3/4 of the way through the month, I do want to share this proclamation. Whereas February is American Heart Month, the time when all people can focus on their cardiovascular health, and whereas American Heart Month has been celebrated as a way to educate Americans to join the battle against heart disease since 1963, and whereas cardiovascular disease is the world's #1 cause of death, killing over 700,000 people each year, and whereas nearly half of all American adults have at least one major risk factor for cardiovascular disease, from heart attacks and strokes to high blood pressure, the threat of cardiovascular disease touches almost every American family across the nation. So now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim February as American Heart Month in the City of Greenbelt to raise public awareness of heart disease and to take extra care of our heart health. So there you have it. Of course, February is the month where Valentine's Day takes place. And, really there are few things more important in life than taking care of one's health. And in the City of Greenbelt, we are very, very proud of the fact that there is an emphasis on health through the Recreation Department and through Greenbelt Cares. There's just a lot of programming that we do to encourage people to take care, to get outside, to walk or run a little bit. The parks, in Greenbelt, we actually consider the parks as a part of our infrastructure because it's so important to be able to take a walk around the lake. And I challenge my peers on the city council and each of you to do something this week to get those arms and legs moving and to do some things to improve your heart health. It's very important.
I went swimming for an hour today.
Did you?
I'm going to be a good example for you.
Okay. So that's going to take us to the next communication piece. And tonight we're going to celebrate the winners of the Greenbelt Middle School Black History Month essay contest. The Greenbelt Black History and Culture Committee organized this contest as a part of their Black History Month programs this year. Thanks to Dr. Rosado, Joe Parks, Jennifer Dudley, and the whole crew. Could you stand up, please, Greenbelt Black History and Culture Committee? So also, I want to thank Assistant Principal Camille Butler for coordinating this activity on the school side. Ms. Butler? So could the students come up, please, a little bit closer to the podium? You can actually come up this way.
Be shy, come on.
That's good right there. What's that?
The family should be in the picture.
Yeah, but hold on. So I just want to say your insight is inspiring. Your voices are essential, and your city is proud of you, the city of Greenbelt. Thanks again to the Rotary Club for providing the prizes that recognize these young scholars. And I want to recognize each of you. First place, Lisa Bell Tangna. Second place, Gio Robles. And third place, Nathan Barrero Fomo. So I'll read this out loud. Public service citation, and in recognition of the outstanding achievement as a winner of the 2026 Greenbelt Middle School Black History and Culture Essay Contest, the City Council of Greenbelt, Maryland hereby recognizes and commends each of you for demonstrating civic engagement and commitment to community through the power of the written word. Your essays reflect the spirit of Greenbelt, a city built on cooperation, creativity, and community pride. So I've got a certificate for each one of you. Why don't we get a photograph, and if all the families could kind of come up at the council, we can all stand up. And yeah. Come on up. Why don't you stand right here in front of us, like right here.
Might not be enough space.
All these parents.
Okay, let's, why don't you scoot over just a little bit so we're all.
Squeeze it together a little bit.
The Black History and Culture Committee, why don't you come up too? Man, this is a big picture. Look at this.
Huh? Going up front?
We're going up front? Okay. Let's see. Ms. Butler, would you like to say anything about the contest?
Thank you.
So, Ms. Butler, would you like to say anything? And the Black History and Culture Committee, would you like to say anything about the contest?
Again, I'm Mrs. Butler, Assistant Principal at Greenbelt Middle School. I just want to thank the Black History and Culture Committee for reaching out to us initially this summer. Hopefully you can hear me. Again, that email I got initially, I believe, from Dr. Rosado, Mr. Parks. I was just very grateful that the committee thought about us and including us and just helping to create a stronger collaboration, because there's so many resources here. So when we tap into them, these are the results, and it's all about the students. So I'm just grateful, and I look forward to working with you all more.
And,
My name is
Dr.
Jennifer
Rosato's
Dudley.
on.
I'm the president of the Greenbelt Rotary, and I'm also a member of the Black History and Culture Committee. I was the lead judge for this contest, and I was so impressed by our young people. And I am excited to announce that we will be continuing to do this as an annual project. We'll be doing some refinement with Ms. Butler around how we can make it more beneficial to everybody concerned. And we look forward to any input from the community as well. And I really want to congratulate you young people again on your success. And this is just the beginning.
Ms. Butler, so great things going on there at the middle school. Your tag program was just recognized.
Yes, and Mayor Jordan did join us. We invited the community in. We got an eGate recertification, which is Excellence in Talented and Gifted Education. So it's an amazing award. These are for our advanced students, and we are challenging them every day to meet the demands of the new world as it is ever changing. And we got an award for all the hard work. And it was an arduous process, and it took a while. And so, yes, we did just get that award, so we're excited. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rosado from the Black History and Culture Committee is online. Dr. Rosado, would you like to say anything? I'm not seeing anything, but oh, okay.
Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Dr. Rosado, hi, how are you?
Hi. Thank you. Yes, what I wanted to not just congratulate the students, but please recognize the families, because like many of those students, I am first generation born of immigrant parents. And some of the students, as you saw, are first generation born students. And they are contributing and showing that they are great for our country, and they are great examples, and they will even go farther in their lives. So I am extremely proud of the parents, and I am very proud of the young people, and I thank the City Council for recognizing our young people. We need to do that more often. Thank you. And thank all the members of the committee.
So, could the students and the parents, the families stand up one more time? We really appreciate you. And thank you for coming out. So we've got one more presentation. And you don't have, we're going to be in this meeting for a couple hours. You don't have to stick around for the whole thing unless you want to. But you might be interested in the next speaker. And we have Timothy Adams on the line. Timothy Adams is a respected public servant and community leader with a distinguished record of advancing economic growth, civic engagement, and regional collaboration. As the former mayor of Bowie and as our current Prince George's County councilperson, he has championed policies that strengthen local infrastructure, support small businesses, and enhance quality of life for residents. A dedicated advocate for inclusive leadership, Mayor Adams former Mayor Adams continues to inspire through his commitment to service, innovation, and partnership across public and private sectors. Mayor Adams, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. It's so nice of you to join us here at the Greenbelt City Council meeting. It's in this new role that you're in, it's so important that the lines of communication are open. So we really appreciate you calling in to say hello. I know you've been in Greenbelt a bit already. You were talking to the GHI board last week. Is that correct?
Yes. What I'd like you to know is that I am really excited about the opportunity to work with you. First and foremost, Mayor Jordan, I want to say thank you. We've met a few times now. You've come out to the council chambers, and I want to say good evening to the other members of the Greenbelt City Council.
That's fantastic.
I am trying to figure out why my camera isn't on, but we won't get caught up with that right now.
That's right. We know technical difficulties here in Greenbelt.
So it is what it is. Yeah, but you know what? Again, though, thank you, Mayor Jordan and council members, and also community for the opportunity to, join you this evening. I truly appreciate your service and your leadership on behalf of the residents of Greenbelt. For those I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, I am Timothy J. Adams, and I have the honor of representing District 4 on the Prince George's County Council. I was sworn in earlier this month after serving 6 years as the mayor of Bowie. I bring more than 30 years of leadership experience across business, government, and community service. And I intend to apply that experience in a way that strengthens collaboration between the county and the city of Greenbelt. Mayor Jordan and all of you know that, for example, having served as a mayor, I understand firsthand the responsibility that comes with municipal leadership. Local governments are closest to the people, addressing public safety, infrastructure, development, environmental stewardship, and the day-to-day concerns that shape the residents' quality of life. And I deeply respect the work you do. As I begin the new role at the county council level, my first priority is to listen. I want to understand directly from the council and from Greenbelt residents what your priorities are and how county government can be a strong and responsive partner. Over the past few weeks, we have already begun meeting with HOAs, nonprofit leaders, PTAs, and other community stakeholders here in Greenbelt to hear directly from residents. That outreach will continue, and I welcome your guidance on additional groups and voices we should be engaging. Your role in making Greenbelt has been phenomenal, but I look forward to us working together to continue that growth. Public safety, thoughtful economic development, particularly along the key corridors, environmental preservation, and maintaining strong community infrastructure are all areas where collaboration between the county and the city is essential. I look forward to working with you to ensure we're aligned in serving the people of Greenbelt. As we head into the budget season, I also welcome your ongoing dialogue about your municipal priorities so I can advocate effectively at the county level. In the coming weeks, I will continue spending time in the community, meeting informally with residents, and hosting a District 4 listening session there in Greenbelt. But beyond those opportunities, please consider my office accessible and open. Partnership requires communication, and I am committed to maintaining that with this council. I look forward to building a strong, respectful, and productive relationship with each of you and to working together to improve quality of life for the residents we serve. You know, this is about all of you. You know, I was so proud to see the young people, and congratulations to them on their essay contest. I mean, that just shows the quality of why we have to work so hard. It reminds us why we have to do what we do for our cities and for our district, because it's not for us. It's for our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren. That's why we have to keep pushing to make sure that this is the place that we want to say is home and that the quality of life maintains for those coming behind. I've gone on a little long there, but anyway,
No.
thank you
Yeah.
again for welcoming me this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Councilman Adams, we really do appreciate your outreach and your partnership. District 4, we would like to think of ourselves as being, the hub, the engine driving Prince George's County in so many ways. So,
Understood.
working together from one side of District 4, all working together, we need to emphasize that. Certainly, council has some priorities. All of our federal employees and the threats, the changes at BARC and NASA Goddard, economic development around our metro station. So we really look forward to the listening session. The council wants to have a work session with you as soon as possible. And I understand we're also looking at a meet and greet at some point in the next week or two. I want to get you over here to Greenbelt. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to open the floor to council. Anybody want to make any comments?
Thank you for being here, and we look forward to working with you.
And again, congratulations.
Hey, thank you to all of you.
Yes, and my name is Frankie. Thank you so much for being here. There is one issue I'd like to, in the spirit of cooperation and partnership and prioritization, something that I've spoken with the county executive about and that I've worked with your predecessor on is making sure that we get a capital bike share station at the Greenbelt Metro. It's been delayed for many years by the county. We have 4 stations in the city, and we would love, when I first asked, I was told it would be installed in December of 2024. And, we are now in February of 2026. So if your office could work with us to just really make sure that capital bike share station at our Greenbelt Metro is installed, I think that would be a really great, easy win for both our city and your office on constituent services.
Hey, thank you so very much. And it's obvious now I have my first task at hand.
Well, yeah, there's no shortage of opinions and needs here in the city of Greenbelt. So that is both at the metro station and also at the high school, those are key points in the city. And for whatever the reason, it seems to keep getting delayed. Councilman Fritz, thank you for bringing that up. So, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
In closing, I just say I look forward to us being a very dynamic team together in District 4, knowing that we address all the issues and knowing that your voices will definitely be heard and that I am that instrument to bring a lot of what you need and those things to the council and make sure that the county council hears the needs and addresses the need of the city of Bowie. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here today. And I appreciate the opportunity for engaging with you in so many ways over the next few months. So again, thank you for letting me be here this evening.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
All right. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Let's see. And there's just one more thing. A resident asked me to bring this. Japanese American Day of Remembrance was observed on February 19th, to commemorate Franklin Roosevelt's 1942 signing of the Executive Order 9066. This order authorized the forced relocation and incarceration of over 120,000 Japanese descendant individuals during World War II. So a resident had asked me to bring that up.
Thanks, Michael.
Yes, Councilmember.
I just want to thank the resident who brought that up. That is very important. And importantly, the Supreme Court case that said that you could be interned for your national origin in a time of war still has not been overturned. So it is still lawful. That is still the law of the land, unfortunately, and we have to carry that with us. That, you know, when a lot of our neighbors are fearful right now, that those laws are still in the books, and these things compound on our history. So we can't forget them. Just like, you know, we were doing the very important work of our Reparations Commission. Remembering what laws are still on the books is still important. So thank you for lifting that up. You know, I know it's very important to a lot of folks that we do that.
Okay. At this time, let's move to item number 8, which is a statement of record for the closed session on February 11th, 2026. Councilmember Pompey, will you share that statement, please?
Yes,
Make the
I will do
motion.
that. In accordance with General Provisions Article Section 3-06C2 of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland, I move that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that the council met in closed session on Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 at 9:46 p.m. in the council chambers. Council held this closed meeting in accordance with Section 3-305B1, 7, and 8 of the General Provision Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland. 1, to discuss the appointment, performance, evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. 2, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. And 3, to consult with staff, consultants, or the other individuals about pending or potential litigation. The purpose of this meeting is 1, to address personnel matters related to specific individuals, 2, to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, and 3, to consult with staff about pending or potential litigation. Voting to close the session, Councilmember Fritz, yes. Councilmember Niesel, yes. Councilmember McKinney, yes. Councilmember Pompey, yes. Councilmember Pope, yes. Mayor Pro Tem Weaver, yes. And Mayor Jordan, yes. Also present at the meeting were Josue Salmeron, City Manager, Jason Deloche, City Solicitor, Dwayne Martinez, Director of Human Resources. Actions taken, none.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember McKinney has seconded. Ms. Alvarez, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Niesel,
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney,
Yes.
Councilmember Pompey,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope, Mayor Pro Tem Weaver, not here, Mayor Jordan.
Yes. Thank you. The resolution passes. Thank you so much. So at this time, we're going to go to administrative reports. City Manager Salmeron, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, residents. Excited to be here.
Have for us.
Oh, well, you know, my week started with a couple models. We're looking at the Canadian model, European model, and American model, and we're looking up to 33 inches of snow. And then that changed for the better. So we put a lot of preparation into what was going to be a significant snowstorm. But fortunately, we ended up with 2 to 4 inches, and it stopped snowing early, and our roads were clear early in the morning. So, but we took a proactive step in preparing for operations for today, and we declared early a 2-hour delayed start. And everyone was able to, correct, out of abundance of caution, and things went well. So I'm glad we got that out, cleared through that storm without any incident or any issue. But it's been a busy week nonetheless. We have a few activities that are scheduled for next week. You just made a reference to the meet and greet that's scheduled for next Wednesday. That's March 4th. But on Monday, we will have a meeting with the federal delegation. They want to present our community with the recognition of the federal earmarks. So just a reminder to council and the public, we were awarded $1.8 million of federal earmarks funds. 1.5 million will be for the replacement of our youth center roof, and $250,000 for towards the construction of an addition at the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center. So that's will help us get that project started, expanding the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center.
That's big news. You know, we had that work session on the large unfunded capital projects, and these are two projects that we did not have the wherewithal to accomplish on our own. So that support, that help from the federal government makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And then on March 10th, we will have the town hall with the cell phone carriers. So we'll have Verizon and T-Mobile present to talk about the maps and address issues from our residents about cell phone coverage in the city. And then other than that, budget has consumed a lot of our time. We are preparing our budget to present to council on March 23rd, and we will deliver a balanced budget. But we have mini hurdles to get through until the 23rd when we present the balanced budget. And our weekly reports included in the packet, and I welcome any questions.
Any questions or comments from council? Okay, well, hearing none, thank you for, please share our appreciation with all of staff for all of the good work that got us through that incredible blizzard last night. But no, you know, for all the good work that goes on behind the scenes, all of the departments, we're really appreciative.
Thank you, ma'am.
So that's going to take us to section 3 of the agenda, and that is a resolution for second reading and adoption. That's resolution 2129. So tonight we're conducting the second reading of Resolution 2129, which proposes renaming the Public Safety Advisory Committee, PSAC, to the Advisory Committee Advancing Public Safety, or ACAPS. This change was formally requested by the committee leadership to better reflect their mission of proactive community cooperation and to distance the group from unintended negative connotations associated with the old acronym PSAC. This resolution honors the committee's desire for a name that truly represents their focus on positive public engagement. I thought that Chair Peggy Higgins might be in the room tonight. Is she online?
She is.
Okay. Ms. Higgins, are you there? Can we promote you? Would you like to speak or say anything about the work of what's, I guess, is going to be ACAPS in a few minutes?
I think we need to have a motion on the floor first before we have.
Okay, would you like to make the motion?
I think maybe Ms.
I
Pope
made
would
the
like to make
first
the motion.
one, so I think I should
defer
do the
to her.
second one, if that's okay. I would like to introduce for second reading a resolution to amend resolution number 923 to rename the Public Safety Advisory Committee to the Advisory Committee Advancing Public Safety, ACAPS.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you so much. Did I get that resolution numbers 923? Is that correct?
923. that's
923.
correct.
Thank you. So let's have some discussion. Ms. Higgins, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. Actually, Steve Mirsky took the lead on this, and so he's going to comment for our committee. And we really appreciate all that you do and your consideration of this item. But Steve will talk.
Okay, Mr. Mirsky, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome, welcome.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the City Council and Mayor and our representative, Silky Pope, for bringing this request before the City Council. We've been involved in numerous new initiatives in our committee the last few years, and part of that was looking at how we are represented to the City Council and to the citizens of Greenbelt. That is the reason for proposing this new acronym. We believe the acronym will be more positive in terms of both modernizing the function and purpose of us, as well as having a positive a psychological, subconscious meaning to members of both the public, the city residents, and the city council. I'd like to thank Peggy Higgins and all of the members of our committee for being involved in reviewing this and improving, bringing this before your vote. And I welcome any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Now, is this pronounced ACAPS or ACAPS?
ACAPS.
ACAPS. Got it.
And the reason is because it sounds like capital of our nation, caps like our beloved Washington ice hockey team, a cap which is a protective covering over a pen, bottle, or camera lens, a cap which is an upper limit on spending or other activities, a cap which is used to protect something that might be damaging, and also the term tipping one's cap, meaning a sign of respect, greeting, or acknowledgement. We believe all these are positive statements, as well as the fact that caps are head coverings to keep us warm and safe.
Well, thank you. You've thought this through.
I have a 8 PowerPoint slide presentation available.
Oh, I don't think we need that right now.
But
Please go ahead.
but also, you know, I think when we have our a committee dinner every year, I think we'll now be moving up on the list to be called. So, yeah, there's a lot of thinking behind that.
Okay. Hey, if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. Ms. Alvarez, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Niesel,
Yes.
Councilmember McKinney,
Yes.
Councilmember Pope,
Yes.
Councilmember Pompey,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes. Okay, the resolution passes, and when that's signed, we'll have a new name for the committee, ACAPS. Looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
You know, it's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank the entire committee for your good work. We appreciate you. Okay, we're going to move to item number 11. That's the Limnotech project update, the Community Flood Resiliency Plan. So we're going to get an update on this Community Flood Resilience Plan, a critical grant-funded project that began last July to address our city's vulnerability to extreme weather. The project team has completed the initial phase of their data acquisition and hydraulic modeling to identify our high-risk areas. Tonight's update is going to outline the progress made so far. Staff member Kevin Carpenter Driscoll, our environmental coordinator, is here to provide the update, along with a representative from Limnotech. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. Tonight we have members of our team from Limnotech who have been working diligently on this project. This project is a grant-funded project from Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and it's a really great proof of concept for a document that they published to develop these kinds of non-tidal community resiliency plans, flood impacts. A lot of the research and funding for flooding and in the face of climate change has gone to tidal communities, but non-tidal communities are also facing a lot of new problems from the flow of rain as these storm events have become more severe. So I'd like to introduce Anouk Savanow and Brad Uvardi, our team leads for Limnotech, to provide an update, and they've got a presentation for y'all.
Okay, welcome. It's so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Mr. Mayor and the council, and appreciate Kevin and you all making space on your agenda for this update. This will take maybe 15 minutes. We'll try to make it as quick as possible, realizing that people probably want to get home. But to give you an update, last time we spoke with you was back in August when we kicked off the meeting with some community input. And so we've gone a long way since then.
there a clicker?
You want to just move on to the next slide? Yeah. Ah, okay. Are you able to show the PowerPoint?
Coming. There you go. That full screen? Okay. Oh, that
Perfect.
looks good, yeah.
And then can I click on this? There we go. All right. So this is actually fairly small. I'm sorry. Thought it would look a little bit bigger. But there were 5 tasks that are part of our scope. Task 1 was the public outreach and public input on areas that are prone to flooding in Greenbelt. We wrapped that up in the fall. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we're going to give a quick update on the input that we got from the public, from the citizens of Greenbelt. Task 2 was gathering public information to help us assess the flooding. I won't give too much of an update on that. Really what we want to spend time on is Task 3, which is our assessment of the flooding in a couple of priority areas in Greenbelt. And then we'll let you know where we're going from here and welcome any input from everyone at the council as well as members of the public who are here today. Nope. There we go. So our first task was the public process. We gathered information from the public on locations of recurring flooding within the city of Greenbelt and an assessment of the severity of that data. And that happened last August. After that, we also launched a online survey that was distributed via several different venues where we welcomed input from the public via an online survey. We did get some responses through that. We left that open for about 2 months to get as many responses as possible. And through that, the public meeting and through the online survey, you see this map. This is where we were told of flooding issues. And our assessment, our scope of work, we are only able to focus on one part or one area. And we chose that area to be Central Greenbelt because that's where we received the most information on flooding issues that were also the most severe of all the ratings. So that is where our study is focused on currently. And the results that we are going to share with you today will be focused on that area. Okay. So there are 2 parts to our assessment. One was looking at inland flooding, so flooding that is happening on your streets, that are happening in residential yards, common spaces. We are looking at assessing the storm sewer infrastructure to see whether the flooding is caused by maybe pipes being undersized or whether the flooding is happening because the water has nowhere to go. It just flows on top of the streets, but doesn't have a place to go. So we are trying to discern between those types of flooding issues. We're taking into account climate change because that plays a big impact on flooding now and in the future. And we're trying to identify what those flooding pinch points are in the city. The second part is assessing riverine flooding around Indian Creek and any infrastructure that could be affected from riverine flooding. So that's flooding of Indian Creek coming out of its banks and going into the nearby floodplain. So for that, we looked at FEMA flood maps and mapped that against the buildings and the roads and tried to identify those areas that we see as being potentially impacted by riverine flooding under different return periods. All right, so that is where we are going. I'm going to turn it over to Brad to talk about the first part, which is modeling the interior flooding.
All right, thanks, Anouk. The interior flooding model. What does that comprise? Anouk mentioned we want to try to evaluate where the problems are, where the bottlenecks may be. Is that in a storm pipe? Is that on the street level? When you think about it, most of your storm water, when it is first routed through the system, it's hitting the streets, it's getting into your storm drains, then your storm pipes, and then finally natural, open channels. Many of those in this area of Central Greenbelt, which would be leading to towards the lake. So we represented as well as we could in Central Greenbelt, given the data that we had, all those elements. We've got streets in the model. We've got storm pipes down to 12 inches in size. And then we took available elevation data and mapped all the natural channels. So we know where this rainfall is routed kind of, during every step of the process. In terms of the events that we looked at the kind of some of the triggering events for which we have a lot of evidence. Those are from July of last year, July 19th and July 31st. And then we looked at about a dozen design storms. Those are storms that NOAA has determined through statistical analysis of long-term rainfall records, how frequently storms of certain size occur. So if you look at these two maps of model results, on the left we have the July 19th event here in Central Greenbelt, and then on the right, a NOAA 5-year, 6-hour design storm. Not a lot of difference between those two maps. That's because the July 19th storm was roughly equivalent to that 5-year, 6-hour storm. About 3 inches of rain, a peak intensity during the peak of each of those storms of about 5 inches per hour. The big difference here in these events is that July 19th event didn't occur over 6 hours. It occurred over 2 hours. So you had that increased intensity that drove a lot of the flooding issues that you saw. So we're going to look at focus on two areas, kind of zoom in on two areas where we know based on photos, videos, the public outreach and meetings that we know that there were issues. The first one here is at the intersection of Lakeside and Westway. You see all of the red here is the streets that we have represented as channels in the model. The red indicates that those are over 75% capacity. So here the model is predicting that if you have a 6-inch curb, you're at 75% of hitting that 6-inch depth on those streets during this event. And again, this is the July 19th event. You also see running parallel to the street, the storm pipes. Those are in green. Those are not at capacity during this event, which indicates for this particular location that you're not able to get the flow into the pipes from the street. So your storm drains are inundated. The water has nowhere to go. Also, the problem with this particular area is that it serves potentially a huge drainage area. So this is about a little over a third of the modeled area that drains to this potentially drains to this low spot in the system. So this area can potentially see a lot of flow, and we saw that with this July 19th event, both in reality and the model predicting that this area would be hit particularly hard. So one potential solution here that we experimented with in the model is adding storm drains, adding inlet capacity. That does help. It doesn't completely alleviate the flooding that you see on the roads, but it does it does drive more flow to the pipes. The problem with that, and we'll come back to this a little later when we look at another area, is that you're pushing the problems downstream. So one of the other issues, flooding issues in this immediate vicinity that we saw was flow headed towards the lake over some open areas, some forested areas, some fields, and this would tend to exacerbate those issues. One other thing that we looked at is looked at the type of storm drain inlets that were used. So on the top images are the storm drains that are at this intersection and along Lakeside and Westway. When we added those types of inlets, when we basically doubled the number of inlets in the model, it didn't make a whole lot of difference. When we added inlets with more capacity, where you would add a grate and an increased catch basin size, that's when we started to see some results in this area. The second area that we wanted to focus on tonight is where we are now, the rec center area. You have a lot of impervious paved surfaces in this area. Here the problems are a little different. You're not seeing quite as much flooding on the roads. You are seeing pipes that are at or over capacity, including the pipes that run underneath a lot of the parking in this area. We tried a couple of different solutions here. The first was, we'll back up a little bit. This is the potential drainage area for this immediate area that we're looking at here. The first solution that we looked at was additional storage in the form of bioretention or rain gardens. We looked at adding where you have these light green areas here that are in the public right of way or that are owned by the city, adding additional storage to try to alleviate the pressure on those pipes downstream. This did help, but even adding several 100,000 gallons of storage, the pipes were still, at or above capacity. So we looked at upsizing those pipes. So all the pipes were at least doubled in size in this particular scenario. And that did end up alleviating the pressure on those pipes. Again, as with the previous example with along Westway, you are potentially pushing the problems downstream. So we saw for the July 19th and the July 31st events, these fields, these athletic fields flooded. You're potentially adding to those issues, even as you're solving or alleviating some of the issues upstream. So in terms of the interior flooding, our next steps are really to, everything's on the table. We've looked at a number of examples of things that, could be proposed in a resiliency plan. We think that it's really going to take a combination of different techniques, different storage options. We don't think we can rule anything out at this point, because you don't want to end up with a situation where you're installing a project or proposing something that's just going to move the problem somewhere else. And with that, I will turn it back over to Anouk to talk a little bit about the riverine flooding.
So we also looked at the Indian Creek riverine flooding. What we did there is the FEMA floodplain maps for the 100-year storm and the 500-year storm. or return period, and looked at the extent of the flooding and how that impacted the nearby buildings and roads. And so I don't know if you can make it out on this on these two pictures. The middle one is in blue, shows the floodplain extent during that 100-year storm. So you see Indian Creek really coming out of its banks and primarily spreading in the park area that is right there near Metro. But in red, you also see a couple of buildings flagged along, these are the apartment buildings near Edmondson Road that do look like they are impacted or could be impacted by riverine flooding from Indian Creek, as well as some roads that are more along the southern side there of the park. And then the figure all the way on the right is a similar figure, but now you're looking at a 500-year return period, so more intense riverine flooding. So your flood extent is a little bit larger, and you're impacting several more buildings. I think it's about 14 buildings total that could see those impacts from the Indian Creek coming out of its bed. So here we'll be looking at potentially some solutions to try to protect those areas a little bit more. That could include adding some topography to protect those buildings or protect those roads. Some berms could be, more natural or vegetative in nature, or could be more hard infrastructure such as flood walls. But we'll be taking a look at those to see if there's anything we can do to add a little bit more resiliency for those apartment buildings in particular, which, by the way, were also flagged by the input we got from the community as being an area prone to flooding. So people who live there are certainly aware of those issues. And then last slide here. So what we're going to be focusing on next, as Brad alluded to, was developing those mitigation strategies to try to build up a little bit more flood resilience, try to mitigate flooding as much as we can and focusing particularly on areas where flooding can cause the most damage. And that obviously means people first, so protecting the areas where people live, protecting the places where people travel, and seeing what we can do to build up that resiliency through those mitigation strategies. And the end product of this will be a flood resiliency plan, which we hope to finish here soon in the spring. We're talking with Kevin about what that plan will look like, whether that's a hard copy report or whether it's more of an online story map or web page that can be put on your website and that the public can also maybe more easily access. So that's something we'll be talking with Kevin about. So that is our update, and we welcome any questions that you may have or any input on this presentation. We can do it now or after. We'll stick around in case you want to get to your other business first. But thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you so much for your work. I have a couple of really quick questions. One, so the timeline on the grant and the deliverables, how many more months will you be working with us?
Yeah, I think our ultimate deadline is not until May. As I recall, that's the deadline for the DNR grant that Kevin received. But we're hoping to wrap up before that. So we're looking at maybe late March or early or mid-April to finish up our work.
Very good, very good. When it comes to stormwater management and mitigating the potential for flooding, it's, as we were saying to our new county council person, it's a partnership. The county has a responsibility for managing stormwater management ponds in the city. So I don't know if Mr. Driscoll or if Mr. Somerone have any thoughts about, as we look at infrastructure that might mitigate some of these flooding challenges, is that something that's going to be on Greenbelt, or is it more of a partnership?
I'm hoping for a partnership. I think this is stormwater issues we've been talking through for a few years, and Terry Ruby, our Director of Planning and Community Development, has been spearheading the effort of analyzing the stormwater systems in the city and negotiating some easements with the county so that we can dedicate some of our stormwater systems to the county. As you know, we many years ago the systems, stormwater systems, were to be transferred to the county, but they needed to be brought up to code then. And that was a work that was not accomplished by the city. And so hearing from our presenters today talk about that we need to double some of our systems, I'm hearing millions of dollars in expenses. And we just had an unfunded capital needs work session, and these things are expensive. So certainly it's going to require a partnership with the county because we simply do not have the expertise or the money to upgrade all the stormwater systems in Yermak, and that is significant. I saw the map of even if we had these rain gardens in the public right of way and upsizing the storm drains, that's still not going to solve the problem. Is what I'm hearing from your assessment. So I hate to keep kicking the bucket down the road, and that's what we've done for so long. But even if we address this, it seems that we will still have a problem. And
Yeah, one thing that I'll say to that is that with flooding, the ultimate goal is rarely to get rid of flooding. Water needs to go somewhere. That's just a fact of life. But what we try to do is get the flooding away from where it does the most harm. So if that means, getting water off of streets but into a park, maybe that's a better way of handling and mitigating the flooding because it will do less damage in a park than it might near an apartment building. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. I don't think anything we propose will ever get rid of flooding. I'd be the biggest liar up here if I said we could do that. It's just not possible, especially not with our current climate and our climate change projections. But we'll do our best to find solutions that can mitigate risk to people and risk to infrastructure.
Okay, we appreciate your good work and to Mr. Carpenter Driscoll and coordinating with Limnotech and moving this initiative forward. It's really, really important work. The past 2 or 3 weeks, it's almost been like a case study in what could happen. What does happen when you have 1.5 feet of ice that just sits there for a week and then melts suddenly? So when you talk about resiliency, you have to kind of think about things that have never happened before.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah, please.
2 questions, or one question, maybe a comment. How much, and this is just because I just don't know enough about storm water management, but how much does the lake itself help in the mitigation of, so Buddiatic Park, like how much does that help in mitigating any flooding that's happening around the area? And then my second is more of a comment. I understand about trying to create ways for the water to flow that won't impact our residents. But I think in the spirit of partnership, we also may want to try to connect with our neighbors, specifically in Berwyn Heights. I know what we heard from them at the Four Cities, that a lot of our water kind of flows right into them. So we don't want to create something here that then also goes into their neighborhood as well. So I just want to make sure that we're also adding their partnership in communication with them as we think through potential solutions down the line.
Yeah, both very good questions. The lake, I'm not sure if the lake is represented in the model. Brad, do you?
It is not represented in this model at this level. What I would say to that, though, is it certainly has an effect, and it can be a form of mitigation. What we've seen in other communities, talking about stormwater ponds, maintenance can be a huge issue, and good maintenance can help to alleviate or put off or even eliminate the need for additional infrastructure in some cases. We've seen stormwater ponds that were designed well, were not maintained. You get sedimentation. They don't have the capacity that they used to, and that just leads to, all. They're not helping. When flooding occurs, they're actually then a hindrance. So. Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. Other questions or comments? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brad, a follow up to that. In looking at your assessment map, you both made a statement that we could fix the problems upstream, but they create problems downstream. But it seems in one of the maps that the constraint or the point of constriction is somewhere in the middle. It's getting it to the lake. So even if you get it from the upstream, there's a point of constriction in the water before it even gets to the lake. So making the lake bigger or deeper may not solve the challenge where the damage is being made.
That's true. Anytime you see flooding where you have flooding on the street and you look down into the, more pervious fields, forested areas, you start to worry because you wonder where's the water going to go. And yeah, you're kind of stuck in that middle ground where, if you fix something upstream, you still have problems in the middle with the middle conveyance, and if you fix both of those, you're just exacerbating your problems downstream. So it's really, you have to think about it on those three levels, and try your best to address each of those, and that's easier said than done.
And I asked that question because at some point in the future we need to dredge the lake, and so if we're thinking that dredging it and making it deeper solves the problem, there's issues further upstream.
Well, once again, thank you for your good work. We'll look forward to seeing the final resiliency plan and whatever other information you can provide us with to help us look to the future. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is item number 12. That's a mandatory referral for the Spring Hill Lake Elementary School. This item concerns the mandatory referral for the proposed demolition and reconstruction of Spring Hill Lake Elementary School into a modern facility for 850 students. While the city supports upgraded educational facilities, staff has raised some significant concerns regarding whether this new capacity can accommodate the hundreds of students expected from the Beltway Plaza redevelopment. We also have to take a close look at proposed traffic patterns and pedestrian safety to make sure that there are safe routes to schools on Spring Hill Drive for, just protecting our students. So Community Planner Ryan Sigworth is here to walk us through a presentation. Ryan, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I do have a PowerPoint presentation if that can be brought up. If it can, I can just kind of wing it too.
Yes, did you?
I'll go ahead and get started. So, staff received a referral from Montgomery from Park and Planning regarding a mandatory referral from the Prince George's County Public School System to reconstruct the Spring Hill Lake Elementary School, which is located on Spring Hill Drive, just to the east of Cherrywood Lane. Essentially what this proposal does is proposes to demolish the entire school and rebuild a new school to essentially bring all of their current enrollment under one structure. There's a number of temporary classrooms on that site now, and so that would remove all of these temporary buildings and build a new facility to handle that and provide a fairly modest increase in school capacity. If you can just, that's correct. If you can bring the full screen up. Oh, that's actually the memo, not the PowerPoint.
I didn't get the PowerPoint. Did you send it to me?
Yes, it was added to the website today. While that's being worked on, I'll keep going. So the current enrollment of the school is, and it varies depending on where you look on the Prince
Give 'em a
George's County
chart.
website. Just I think that's basically data lag from year to year. But the current enrollment is 766 students, and this proposal would increase the capacity to 850. It also, since this is a full reconstruction of the school, this would also update the stormwater, update the lighting. It moves it increases the amount of parking and moves it to the rear of the building, all new recreation facilities, everything. And so it also provides new heavily landscaped area in the front. That was one of the main charges when we actually met with the landscape architect and the engineer on the project a few weeks back. And I think staff's main concern was the operation of Spring Hill Lake Drive, student capacity, and then we have one other comment about just a trail, a convenience trail on site. In regards to the student capacity, so in terms of the development pipeline in Greenbelt, you have the main one is that's in this catchment area is the the Beltway Plaza site, which currently has 2,500 multifamily units that are approved that could be constructed at any time. And based on the pupil yield factors from Prince George's County Public Schools, that would produce over 350 new students at the elementary school level. And we're only talking about an increase of capacity from the current enrollment of roughly 70 students. So when you do that math, if all of the housing that's already been approved was built today, this school would be 343 students over capacity before it even breaks ground. And I'm just talking about the elementary school level. Since the application that we got was for an elementary school, we're not even looking at high school levels and things like that. And so that's the concern, is that one, I don't think you could fit that many students on this site. And so that begs the question of, what are the other sites? What is the planning that's occurring? What's the plan to accommodate this? And then that doesn't even factor in the Greenbelt Metro site, which who knows what might happen there, but it could have a residential component as well, and that's also in this catchment area. So what's the bigger picture? So staff has that concern. The other one, initially we had real concerns about the operations of Spring Hill Lake Drive. The school site essentially is moving the current raised crosswalk to the west to get it out of the way of the bus loop. And we met with the landscape architect and engineer to kind of discuss what they're wanting to do. And we don't really have any concerns about that as long as the raised crosswalk is put back and relocated appropriately where it all lines up. We also have comments to upgrade the other two crosswalks that are along this frontage also to raised crosswalks. They will also be reconstructing the sidewalk along this frontage to 5 feet in width across the entire length of their frontage. The other concern that we had that is somewhat alleviated with our meeting with the engineer and landscape architect was the bus loop. You can see in your staff report that the current bus loop actually goes into the site further, and because the building is pushed back further than the proposed building is, so that creates a queuing capacity for buses. Whereas the proposed one doesn't go back nearly as far because the new building is in the way. And so staff's concern is that buses could potentially spill out into the roadway, and then you have operational problems with the road. Now, in talking with the landscape architect and engineer, they said that this school is served by 4 bus routes. And so the bus loop as it's designed is set up to handle 4 buses, and it could probably handle up to 6. But after that, then buses spill out into the roadway. The materials that we got from Park and Planning didn't provide any information on that. So if based on what we heard during our meeting, I don't think that's an issue, but still it's something to pay attention to. The other minor comment that we had was just there's in the southeast corner of the site, having a pedestrian path from the sidewalk that allows students to come up from the sidewalk to around the building. I think there's a graphic in your staff report that shows this. The only other way to get around there is it's a very circuitous route to go all the way down and then all the way back around. And our thought is that eventually that's just going to become that, in planner terms, what we call a desire line, which just ends up being a dirt path where people want to walk. And so sort of creating a concrete path to sort of short circuit that is part of our recommendations. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think the main issue is the school capacity issue, and in our recommendation, we're recommending that the council schedule a work session with Prince George's County Public Schools to discuss the road forward and what the plan is, because at least amongst our staff, we don't know what that is. So,
Okay. Oh, thank you. Councilmember Pope.
Yes, thank you so much. And I agree with everything you have in your report because, I work there. So I'm there every day. And we do have about 10 to 12 portable classrooms, which are falling apart. But I'm just worried that if the planning, and I feel like they started to plan this years ago, and then they just pulled out that plan and said, oh, now we're going to do this, and not taken in consideration of all the possible development that could happen, right? And some of it is already approved, like you said, and they're going to be children. They're going to be kids. That's just, that's what it's going to happen. And where are they going to go to school? And I think they're going to build this school, and, we've mentioned that to them many times when they came here to talk to us, and they're not paying attention. And what's going to happen is they're going to build a school, and 3 months later, we're going to have portables again. And I don't understand, because they do have space. There's a lot of space. They really, I think, need to go back and revisit their decision. So I agree with your everything you said. The buses too. Right now, we only have 3 or 4 buses in the morning because it's just for our special education department. But they're on the street. They're blocking the street. They have no choice because there is nowhere for them to go. They can't come down in the front. They can't go in the back. They're on the street. So it's, I just think the plan needed to be revamped. It needed to be relooked at. It needed to be modernized, refreshed, taken all the new information in account, and I just think that doesn't happen. So I would like to move that we approve the letter that you, with all the items that you recommended, and and maybe
Correct.
hopefully
Thank
we
you.
can get back to the table and.
Thank you for bringing that up. There is a draft letter that we are proposing that you send to Park and Planning, and there is a
I'll second
there
that,
is
by the way.
a public hearing scheduled for this, and staff intends to with the planning board, and staff intends to attend and provide testimony as well.
And thank you so much to be so thorough with this plan, because I think this is such an important project. The school is so needed. We really need this new school, and we need to have enough space. I think we need to be respectful to our parents, to our students, to our staff, to our neighbors, and I really hope that we can come to a mutual agreement and maybe make this. And it's great, and I love that there's a new school. That we're thankful for that, of course. But let's see if we can come and make it a little bit more, a little bit bigger.
I did want to mention that the public hearing with the Prince George's County Planning Board is scheduled for April 16th on the mandatory referral. So, yeah.
Councilmember Pompey and then Councilmember Niesel.
I just wanted to say, we have, every time we've met with PGCPS since I've been on the council, we have mentioned that the school is not going to have enough capacity, and they're shocked every single time, even though it's like the same people and we're mentioning the same things. They're like, we had no idea. And it's like, well, we told you. And so I don't think that there's anything that we can, they're not going to be able to do anything to change the plans of the school now. But what we do need to focus on is what's next. I mean, PGCPS does have at least one parcel, well, two parcels if you include the old high school here in Greenbelt, because even without the units going in at Beltway Plaza, we're only going to continue to grow. And I bring this up not because it has anything to do with the letter, but because this is really just a larger issue of school capacity here in our city. I mean, it's just, they're going to have to, we need more capacity here. So they need to, we need to meet with them to start talking about how are we planning for the future here in Greenbelt? What do the next 10 years of school construction look like here in Greenbelt? Because if we don't start having those conversations now, we're never going to get any more buildings built here. I mean, it takes a decade to get a building built in PGCPS. I mean, these are blueprint schools, so they're built much quicker, but through the normal construction process, it could take 10 to 15 years to get a school. So,
and I think, on this particular site, I mean, this is a 2-story structure, and you could make it taller, but I don't know that that's the solution to this problem. It's more of a long-term plan. Like we have 3 other properties that we've identified as potential sites, and having that roadmap out 10 years or more to know what you need to do to serve that student. So this is just a small piece of a bigger problem, really.
yeah, I agree. And I know it's one of the reasons that it really concerns me that the closing of what's now Dora Kennedy French Immersion, which we call the historic high school, is that the best use for that property is always going to be a school because we need a school there. So I think we're just going to need to continue to engage with them and how do we keep capacity growing in our school capacity here in the city, because there's just not going to be enough space a decade from now. So,
Councilmember McKinney?
Yeah, I'm echoing what has already been said in what is included in the letter. One additional question I had, and maybe something that I didn't see in the report, and maybe I don't know if we talked about it in APB, but there also was limited information on the actual programming within the building itself. And I don't know if that comes in this stage or if that comes in future stages. But I would also we need to think about the architecture as well as the right-of-ways and how to get into the building. But I think if we're building a new school that is for our kids for the future, we also need to be thinking about how it's being utilized within it. And is that supporting what our community and the kids need inside? So what are the types of spaces that we want to see? And I don't necessarily know if that was included in further detail, and if that's something that we want to talk more directly with them about.
We did not get any of that information aside from what you see in the site plan for, the outdoor facilities and things like that.
Yep.
But as far as like programmatic information, we didn't get any of that as part of the referral.
Okay.
So I agree with you, but I can't really answer your question.
So I'm wondering if that is something that we can request in this letter be included, if that's something that we can say and I don't know if that will come out also in public hearing, but it would be interesting to understand like how many classrooms, what is the size of those classrooms going to be, meaning how many kids are they going to support for, number of teacher or number of students per teacher. Like the larger question around can this building support the total amount of kids is important, but then also supporting what we have right now, does it support the type of instruction that needs to happen within that building?
I mean, if it's the council's prerogative to vote to add, I can easily add that and provide it So if that's a direction that all of you want to go, then that's
Would you all consider that a friendly amendment to possibly add a little?
Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, because I believe that information was included in the presentation that we received that was a little more in detail about Spring Hill Lake. I remember seeing what the second level would look like, and it was really intentionally thought out. And I know that because it's a private partner, public, yeah, thank you, the Triple P, and those firms are doing really, really student-led development. So I will say that that is one thing that's wonderful about these new buildings is that they all have really, really intentional designs.
yeah. The only thing that I kind of know along that when you mentioned architecture is I think Prince George's County has worked with the same firm, so a lot of the
Yeah, they're very
schools that they're
similar.
building now
Yeah.
have a very similar architectural theme. I think not only to save cost, but just to have sort of an integrated look within their
right.
system. But
And I've seen that
Very well
too,
designed, too.
And I've
Very
seen the
beautiful.
design, and it's a lot of glass and light, and you know, and inside the garden, and so there was a lot of thought process. So it's going to be a beautiful building inside. I'm just concerned about the size.
And
Classroom
you're
sizes.
right. I think maybe they did provide some more information at other, community events and things like that. But as far as what planning department received to look at, we just didn't get that.
But if you wanna make some kind of addition to it, I'm open to. It's fine. I mean,
Yeah. Did you have more?
Well, I wanted to really thank you, especially for bringing up the extra construction, because again, we have brought that up and they've been continued to be surprised. So having that in writing is really important. And just to level set everyone's expectations, it's wonderful that we're getting a new school. It's never going to be built for the number of students that it needs to be built for because we're always working with 10-year-old data. So I really appreciate though all the effort we're putting into making this school as good as it can be, even with with the limitations we have. So thank you.
it's a definite improvement for sure.
Councilmember Fritz, did you have a comment? No. I just have a couple of quick questions. One, so with the bus loop, previously there was parking there, and that parking lot's always filled up every time I go over there. So did they move it someplace else?
They increased the total
Increase the
number.
total number,
They increased the total number of parking, and then they moved it all to the rear of the building.
the rear. Yeah, and that's the other part of my question. The rear of the school is a rather sensitive area. It's the headwaters of the Indian Creek. So stormwater runoff literally starts at the top of the hill by Beltway Plaza and filters down and goes right past the school into the creek. So I was just wondering, are there some additional, with the landscaping plan, are there some additional thoughts about mitigating the runoff?
Well, just by way of the modern stormwater controls, that's going to be improved significantly just from, I don't even know that they have stormwater controls on that site now. But with the building of the new school, they have to meet the current stormwater standards. So that'll be a big change. As far as the, excuse me, as far as that area in the back, I mean, they're really not encroaching or changing sort of their limits of disturbance from the existing condition today. So I think with the construction of this school, I think you're only going to see conditions improve just by bringing everything up to modern standards.
Yeah, because it is a problem. There's a really, really deep erosion over there and back behind the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center as well. You can see it graphically. It's about 4 or 5 feet deep, the erosion.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Ms. Pope?
Yes.
2 questions online. Oh, my. So, let's go to Dr. Rosado. Do you have? Who are the 2
Yes.
questions?
Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, welcome.
I agree with Silky on this. I think it will be incumbent for the members of the city council to really fight to expand the capacity of this school. I don't think it's fair to build the school knowing that we're going to be short 350 spaces or more. And I don't want to voice my opinion about the county council and the school board, but I will say this. It is incumbent on our city council to really fight and press the the county school board to help get this expanded to include additional spaces. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm really upset that Silky's right. 10 years plan they just don't work now. And I think we owe it to the students and the parents and any new people coming in to really fight like hell to get the kind of building that we need to have.
Well, thank you, thank you. I can think back to the ribbon cutting for the Greenbelt Middle School. It was not so long ago, but literally a year after the ribbon cutting, they were putting temporaries in. So it's hard to plan because the schools, there are bubbles in population, so you need lots of additional space, and then you don't. And arguably, that might be a reason why the PGCPS is hesitant to decommission and get rid of buildings because they know that in another 10 years they may need it again. And let's see, we've got Bob Rand online. Bob, are you there? Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and read it out. How long is the new school building scheduled to operate? Does PGCPS have population growth projections for this part of Greenbelt? Lost the somebody answer. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I clicked it by mistake. I didn't mean to. Push. Go on.
I can read the last part.
Is available funding perceived to be the key factor in the insufficient size? It's from Bob Rand. Ryan, did you have any reaction to that?
I think that's better answered by Prince George's County Public Schools. I will say that Prince George's County publishes on the internet a number of papers, and one of those is their pupil yield factor. So they basically have, through some sort of planning process, where they can lots of echo there. Where they can basically determine how many students are generated based on housing type. So in this particular case, I'm trying to remember what the factor was, but I want to say it was like 0.156 per dwelling unit for multifamily. And that generation rate is different for like single family housing and multifamily housing. So at the elementary school level, I think if memory serves, it was 0.156. And then you just multiply by the number of housing units. So you can easily calculate your student generation capacity based on approved housing numbers that are in your pipeline.
And of course, the projections that we have of population growth, they're partially based on the construction of the additional housing at Beltway Plaza. And I'm not sure how that's moving ahead. I'm concerned about that.
Population growth is easily looked at through the census. You can see, see how that growth has, gone on for decades now. So in terms of just population growth.
Councilmember Fritz.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what's already been said, but I think all those points are very well taken, including the point about needing to fight for more capacity. I'll just say that, broadly speaking, I'm skeptical of public-private partnerships as a sustainable financial model for education funding. It speaks to the embattled capacity of our county to actually meet the needs that we're plugging the gaps with deferred, because at the end of the day, private partnerships have to make profit somewhere, and it has to be a good business decision somewhere. So because we're not making these financial investments up front, and it leads to more challenges down the way when these schools actually come under public ownership, it'll create more issues as well. Just that piece. And then even with this model, we're not hitting the capacity that we that we need. And I think that we need to really be in partnership with both the county council, as our county council member Adams has said, but also with our fellow municipalities, and realize that if we're going to actually make progress and not just be playing catch up, this is a new planned school that's already quasi-private, privatized in its construction methods and financing. We're already behind, and we're still not reaching the goals that we need to do. I think we need to have an honest conversation about what it would take to actually dig ourselves out of this enrollment gap.
Councilmember Pompey.
Just to answer part of Mr. Rand's question about how long the schools are intended to be used, they were built under a P3 public-private partnership, and that partnership is 30 years long. 30 years. So at the end of 30 years, the schools will be turned back over to PGCPS. So they are intending these schools to have a life probably of 60 years, is my guess, 50 to 60 years. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that to answer that part of his question. Yeah. And as far as deferred maintenance goes, PGCPS has $8 billion in deferred maintenance. So just to wrap your head around that number for folks, if you're wondering why we need new schools and why our schools are falling apart, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of deferred maintenance. So anyway.
And Councilmember McKinney.
Just a question to follow up on what you were sharing before around how they forecast and the numbers that go into the actual units and the projection. When was that actually, when was that created? Because I do feel like as time has gone on, I wonder if they amend that equation to look at changes in how our population is living. For example, do we have more multi-generational units? Do we have families that have, more larger families that are actually living in that? So it's an equation that was built, 30, 40 years ago that they're still using now to come up with that forecast.
I think the simple answer is I don't know. I will say that the numbers that I did a quick calculation on were based on their 2024 yield factors, but I did find documents for previous years. And I did check them, and the yield factor up all at the housing and school levels was slightly different. So they're adjusting these factors, every couple of years. How they do it, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, just within the confines of my review, I just wanted to have the correct numbers to plug the equation.
Sure. Okay. And then you said that the public hearing is at what time and where?
I don't have a time on the agenda. I don't think that's been published yet, but it's April 16th.
Just one final question. So were there any elements of the analysis that went into the recommendations where staff differed from APB?
There was a report that the council approved from the APB, and I don't recall there being really any significant difference between what we were recommending, but that's part of your packet as well.
Very good, very good. So we've got a motion on the floor. I heard some flexibility. Can we draft the letter, incorporate? I guess the discussion is there's no amendment, so can we see a letter draft and then
Councilmember Niesel addressed a question about what the student-centered design inside the facilities were. So I think that inquiry was satisfied.
That report is available.
For more recommendations, because that wasn't presented when we were going through that in APB. So the recommendations that are in the letter don't necessarily reflect if we had additional thoughts around the programming inside the building. Well, I don't think it's something that, so APB looked at this first, and then staff put together a letter based on comments that came from that as well. And
So-
I don't know if that was included.
staff, would you, just listening to council, do you think you could include another bullet point to address what Councilmember McKinney?
More transparency around that. And if it's in additional
Would that be
information
okay?
that you said is out there, I just did not see it.
I think My concern with including that is it just seems an overstep of APB to be inserting itself in the programmatic. So I'm just trying to clarify what we're asking.
The letter itself is let me ask the
Yeah,
question
yeah.
first. The letter itself are recommendations that staff have put together that you're saying that you're asking for council's approval to kind of sign off and submit based on
Yes.
all of that, what was in there. Those recommendations are based on what information that staff has looked at.
Right.
So what I'm saying is what was not included in your review was necessarily the programmatic pieces of that building. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, should we have a point of view, should staff have a point of view and include a point of that in the letter? So it's not just the external part that we're providing recommendations on or not.
So you're essentially asking to add a bullet or a line, just speaking on making sure that the design is reflective of changing programmatic needs. Is that?
That's it.
Okay. Is that something that the mover of the motion, would you be comfortable with staff coming up a draft and taking a look at it before it goes out? Is that okay? Is that okay, seconder?
I mean, if it's one bullet, I just don't want to make
One
it
bullet.
too complicated,
I don't want it
too
to be
long, because I don't know how, the interior and the design of the, but it's fine, we can, maybe we can also provide I don't know if you have it, but I know I've seen it, the interior design of the building.
Councilmember Pompey.
I was going to say, if you reach out to Mr. Matlock, Dr. Matlock, he could send us the mock-ups of the interior of how the space is programmed. He has that.
We can get that material, and I would suggest that for the letter that's in the packet, I would suggest that the way to resolve the request was just to add a one sentence in the introductory paragraph to say that we hope or strongly encourage that the administration consider student-centered design and its programming design.
Sounds good. Any other comments? If not, let's go ahead and take a vote on putting forward the letter with those amendments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Ryan, thank you so much for your good work on this. Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm up for the next item too.
Oh,
so.
my.
Well, make
Well,
yourself comfortable.
Item number 13 is Go Prince George's Transportation Master Plan. Councils, now we're going to discuss our formal response to the county's Go Prince George's Master Plan of Transportation. Our staff recommendation supports the development of shared use paths on Route 193, Edmonston Road, but opposes the widening of Ivy Lane and the extension of Braybrook Drive and Mandan. So our goal, Council, is to ensure that the regional transportation goals do not come at the expense of Greenbelt's environmental integrity and pedestrian safety. So there is a town hall coming up on this topic with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning later in March in the Planning Department. So Ryan, what do you have for us?
And I do have a yeah, that's a good sign. Can we make that full screen? I just have a couple of slides. The council had a work session with Prince George's Park and Planning on this in September of last year, and this draft plan was released in December of 2024 to the partner agencies. And so essentially this plan, right now, the countywide master plan of transportation is from 2009. And so this plan would replace that. It also takes all of the sector plans and master plans since then and basically aggregates all of those recommendations from those plans into one plan. The plan itself, and you can skip ahead just one more. Actually, one more for that. Yeah, so the plan is essentially divided into 5 sections. The biggest part of it is the the facilities recommendation portion of the plan is kind of the meat, the heart of the plan, which when you page through the plan, it looks like a table. And it takes all of the road recommendations countywide and provides a recommendation for sidewalks or bike facilities or lanes and all of that information. That's really the guts of the plan. And within your packet, there's also a draft letter, just like the last item. And when Park and Planning came and we had that work session, staff had already reviewed the plan and provided a number of comments and recommendations. Many of them are just corrections to the table. There were roadways that were shown under the wrong ownership and not Greenbelt ownership, simple things like that. There were some other bigger things that were left, like the Braybrook right-of-way to Hanover. We're saying that we wanted that removed. So a lot of the comments that are shown in your packet, you've already seen from the work session back last year. When we presented this to APB, one of their suggestions and recommendations was that within the facilities recommendations table, that we take a proactive approach and make recommendations for our own roadways to be added into that table. And so we have gone ahead and done that and added those comments with new table entries. We also, I'm speaking from memory here, but we've asked the question in our comments about how roadways get included or not in this plan, and I still don't know the answer to that question. But in this particular case, Hanover Parkway is part of the plan south of 193, but not north. And the same with Mandan. Mandan on the south of 193 is in this plan, but not the north section. So in the new comments that we've added, we've included those to essentially square the circle and create that loop within the plan. And so it's kind of broken down with the comments from last year with the new comments that APB kind of wanted us to be more proactive and say, these are our roads. This is what we would like to see. And that kind of makes it easier for us whenever we look at grant options and things like that to point to, hey, this project is already in the countywide master plan of transportation. So we're trying to kind of create a synergy here with the plan itself and trying to push our agenda forward. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No, I appreciate the letter draft. One thing that I am curious about is with our sector plan, it's very, very old. So while this master plan of transportation consolidates the various master plans and sector plans into one, it's still based on that very, very old plan that we have for Greenbelt Road. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And if at some point in the future, Park and Planning funds an update to our sector plan, then those recommendations would supersede any recommendations in this particular plan, if there were changes.
So in the letter, I think I'd kind of like to reference that somehow, that we would appreciate at some point in the near future. Although, I totally respect the workload that you guys have in planning and community development, but I think it's well past time to kind of update that sector plan.
Well, I agree, and I can personally attest that our director, Terry Ruby, I think has mentioned the need to update this plan directly to every planning director that I've seen her talk to on multiple occasions. So we've been pushing that. It needs to happen. But to your point, if you would like to add a sentence towards the top or two sentences sort of pushing that need to update the Greenbelt sector plan in the future and provide funding to do that, then I'd be happy to add. And obviously you're going to get a draft, you're going to get a final draft to look at.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay.
Are there other suggestions or modifications? I can make a motion that we, just to put it on the table, that we authorize staff to forward this letter draft as amended to the planning department.
Second.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion other than, public comment? Okay. Mr. Orleans, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. The Orleans resident still. My full copy of the agenda package was abbreviated this evening. It only went up to page 122, so I've not been able to at least even skim the report from community planning and also the letter. But if only based on the conversation about the letter, I think it's probably insufficient. This plan is a county-wide plan with impacts beyond Prince George's County. This is an opportunity. I certainly appreciate all the references to Greenbelt roads and Greenbelt-specific transportation, but council has an opportunity to tell the county council and the Prince George's Planning Board that Greenbelt wants to be in solidarity with all the other 27 municipalities and all the unincorporated areas of Prince George's County. And since the state of Maryland is proceeding with planning for what's called Southern Maryland Rapid Transit, which is either bus rapid or light rail from Waldorf to Branch Avenue, this would be a perfect opportunity, although it should have started years ago, for the county planning department and DPWT to begin and the state of Maryland to begin planning for extending the Purple Line east and south from New Carrollton and west over the Wilson Bridge, and also west of Bethesda across what eventually will be a reconstructed Woodrow Wilson or American Legion Bridge. And I don't think Greenbelt Council should tell the county council and the planning board only reference in our letter only what pertains to Greenbelt when we have this other opportunity. So I would look forward to council. I've not seen the letter because it's not in my packet, but I look forward to council approving a letter that would go beyond Greenbelt's streets and roads. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I certainly would like to see bus rapid transit. I'd like to see it originate at Merkirk, come down through Greenbelt, connect up at East-West Highway with the Purple Line, and continue down to South Dakota Station. But I don't think there's room for that in the letter. But I think that would be a really great thought, a great way of connecting folks from Merkirk coming on down. Yes, Councilman.
This is a question for staff. If we could, sorry, not to. You've been with us so long tonight, so I feel bad yanking you back up one more time. But for the billions of people watching at home, could you talk a little bit about the innovation corridor concept of the plan, just at a very high level? I know it's going to run through. What does it mean on a practical level? There's a lot of very nice sounding commitments around 15-minute walkable cities along the corridor, or 15-minute walkable infrastructure along the corridor, and it runs from, I believe, University of Maryland to Goddard I believe what it's proposed. But does that come with some functional weight, or is it mostly aspirational?
It's mostly aspirational. I mean, because at the level of this plan, it's really, yeah. They're setting policies and goals to try to get there, but it doesn't provide any detail. The 15-minute commute is really just it's just kind of a policy goal to get there, but they don't really provide the way they're going to do it. So I can't. Within the context of the plan, it's difficult to really point to anything concrete.
Yeah, so that's helpful, because I know I got a mailer asking people to come out, to a public hearing, and I think people who want to testify to these kinds of things would want to know functionally, if I come out, what am I testifying on? Is it going to actually, what are the downstream effects of this decision or that decision being made at this very high level?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to understand that since this is the countywide transportation plan, that in the sort of the planning hierarchy, you have a countywide umbrella here that kind of sets the overarching policies and goals, but is very vague. And then the master plans and sector plans for all the different communities kind of drill down into more detail, for each specific community. And so, the purpose of this plan is not really to provide that much detail. It's more aspirational, and then to provide some specific guidance on specific roads that are shown in that table.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other discussion? I'll say it again. Bus rapid transit, Merkirk to Greenbelt, East-West Highway, down Kenilworth and coming out at South Dakota Station, which is not really very well served by transit.
Now, you said that if there was room in the letter for that, do you want to add that to the letter?
Oh, you have a little space.
Want to add it? No, I don't think there's. Would you?
If it's going to improve the quality of life for residents of the county, I don't think there's harm in saying that. But yeah, I think Mr. Orleans' point is that we should take our voice seriously. And if it's something we want, I think we should entertain it seriously. But if it's not something we feel like we can fit in this priority letter, that's a decision. But I think we should, if you think it's a good idea.
But I'd rather leave it to staff to kind of ponder over that, and if you can fit it in there, please do.
I'd be happy to try to fit it in.
Okay.
Motion's on the floor.
Yeah,
so.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ms. Ruby. So that's going to bring us to item number 14. And tonight, we're going to continue our discussions regarding the proposed charter and code amendments that would grant collective bargaining rights to non-managerial city employees. Following several months of petitions and work sessions where the city manager has tasked us with trying to finalize the framework a little bit more. We have a work session coming up on Monday. But prior to that, the city manager has asked us to make some decisions on several factors, specifically the structure of the bargaining units, the eligibility of part-time staff, and whether or not council would have the final say on defining the bargaining unit. So there's a lot of material that's been referenced in the packet, and the purpose of the work session that is coming up is more to delve into the specifics of the code amendments and charter amendments. But these three topics about the bargaining unit, structure of the bargaining units, whether part-time employees are included, and just that final say in how the bargaining unit is structured is what we're going to talk about. So we've received some information on the practices of other municipalities, just in terms of the ones that do have police and public works and other employees, just providing some perspective on the number of units, whether it's working with one union or several unions to cover their employees. So I'm trying to kind of frame the discussion a little bit. But why don't we take these one by one? It's a discussion. We could vote to have a work session coming up on Monday. So I think we just need some clarity for direction so that we can. How did you state this, Mr. Summerall?
Mr. Mayor, we have provided several documents for council's review ahead of the work session on this topic. And in a previous council meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the specific wording in the charter amendment and the city code. And I want to avoid. I'm sorry. I want to support council as much as possible to helping council get to where it wants to get. with the charter amendment in its city code. And these are policy questions that council needs to address so that I can provide direction to the legal team on the verbiage that needs to be on the charter amendment and the city code. So the policy questions that council needs to we would like direction from council so that we could properly reflect the language of the charter amendment, the city code, is should the city establish a single bargaining unit or multiple units? And I've provided a spreadsheet on your table that's an update from the documents that were shared last week, indicating which municipalities and whether they have one bargaining unit or one representative unit of all of the different employees. So that's one policy question. The second one is, should part-time employees be included in the scope of the bargaining rights? As you know, we have our recreations team almost doubles in the summer with all the summer camps, lifeguards, and numerous seasonal employees that we have. So part-time employees, those seasonal employees will be subject to, should you grant bargaining rights to part-time employees, those employees would be included. And then the third policy question is, should city council retain the authority to determine final bargaining rights, or should that determination be delegated to a neutral third party? And these are just the top priority. There'll be obviously the different items in the code itself that we'll need to talk through, but these are the higher level items.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And of course, the question about the single or multiple units with the additional information that's in response to a council request, just to have a better sense of what the environment and how this happens in our sister municipalities. Ms. Pope?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. Do you just want to know our preference right now so we can discuss it on Monday? Because we're certainly not going to vote on something what we're going to discuss on Monday, right? I mean,
No, I think the idea here is that it will be helpful in guiding the discussion. It'll be helpful for our lawyers to know, like, how they should focus their time. Basically, we want to use our lawyers' time in the best way possible. So these are just narrowing some questions down for them. Is that the right way of phrasing that?
That's a much more
I have another
eloquent way than I said it. Yes, the lawyers are not free.
They're not free. But like I said, well, we want them to give us what we want too, right? So
I can give you my preferences, and then you know, and then you can go down the line if you like.
Go ahead.
So I would.
Take a tally. I'll take a tally.
You could take a
then. It
tally
sounds
now,
like
please.
I'm taking a
Okay,
tally.
so the single bargaining unit, I think that would be one that I would prefer, and I have gone through the documentation. So part-time employees, no, because as we, I don't think there were only one, maybe two possibly jurisdictions that they even do that. I think at this time, no, but this might be something we want to look at later on, because I really want to make sure we're moving this item, for our, especially because Public Works brought this up, forward and don't get hung up on anything like that. So not no forever, but not no for now. And then my question is, retain authority to determine final bargaining units. We have that right now, right? So I would like to keep that with that as well.
Okay, and we're going down the line. Councilmember Fritz.
Yeah. I think we should, just to be clear, the single bargaining unit is an addition to the police. I think we're all, we want to make sure we're not trying to merge the police unit into the rest.
We can't.
Well, we could.
No, you cannot.
I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that legally we could.
We were told we cannot.
Theoretically, we could. But
We were
in
told that the
practice-
FOP would not represent them anymore if we did that.
That's not how I understood it. But anyways, okay, go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
we're not trying to. Yeah, that's not what we're not trying to do. That is what to the point that we have a bargaining unit, and now I do think that because Public Works came to us, we should recognize a Public Works bargaining unit. Is my view, but create a mechanism for additional bargaining units. I've worked for a labor organization that represented Montgomery County government. There's 2 bargaining units in all of Montgomery County government, much larger operation. There's a service, labor, and trades bargaining unit, and then there's the office professional and technical bargaining unit. It's a very interesting union. It represents over 500 job classifications. But that's how they decided to split it up, and they happen to be represented by the same union. So sometimes it happens that way, that even if there are multiple units, they could ultimately elect the same representative. So, but my view is that should be up to the workers themselves. So I would prefer we recognize the public works unit, and then create probably another unit. And I do think that there is a distinct kind of line of work and logic to public works being its own unit. They are much more of a trade in a lot of senses. And then I think there's room for the other workers to be in a kind of general government employees union if they so choose. I do believe that part-time employees should be included, but they might be a subunit within the overall structure of that general government employees, because there's a lot of different ways we can talk about part-timers. You can talk about seasonal employees like lifeguards. You can talk about people who work 30 hours a week. I believe that would still make them part-time in our system.
30 hours. We have employees at 30 hours that are benefit
Okay.
employees.
So, I think some places use the 1040 rule. So do you work more than 1040 hours a week, which would be more than half, full time? So that person could not, instead of working 2,080, divide that by 2. So if you work more than 1040, you, not the tax form, but the 1040 hours rule. I think that there's ways to determine that, but I also have talked to workers who feel underrepresented by their union because, they are maybe in a teacher's union and they're a para that works a couple hours a week and they don't feel like they're fully represented. I think that there are distinctions you can draw between part-time workers and full-time workers, and they might have a distinct community of interest. Also, I think we should definitely be very clear on how we're defining that part-time, regardless of what we choose, because some people might put 30 hours in a part-time unit. Some people might not put that in a part-time unit. So is it more than 20 hours a week on average across the year? Some people work longer in certain seasons. Those are considerations. And I think because of that, I don't think we want to spend all of our time drawing bargaining units. So I do think there is merit to bringing in a kind of third party in a similar sense to the National Labor Relations Board at the federal level, or other public workers relations board in states like New Jersey or New York, where a kind of external authority kind of determines that community of interest, so that we're not always drafting that and we don't need to change the code every single time it happens. So I do think there's merit in moving to a third party system, but I think all of us generally want to move in the same direction. So, I think I'm glad we're having this conversation on the details.
Okay, Mr. Summeron.
One clarification, Councilmember Fritz, and to your first question, you support multiple bargaining units. You want to leave that up to the employees to decide.
Yeah, I think having a third party kind of recognize communities of interest as a bargaining unit. But I also would understand if we kind of create a public works unit, because that is the question before us most prime. And then second would be a general government employees, with maybe we need to tease out. I would like to see maybe more of a proposal on how part-time employees could opt in.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, who's next?
I'm happy to go next. I would say that, particularly because our public works employees are attempting to organize with LIUNA, that we have to allow for at least 2 bargaining units, because LIUNA only really represents laborers. They're never going to represent lifeguards, office staff, art teachers. They don't do that. So if we don't allow for at least a second unit in addition to the public works unit, we're essentially not going to be allowing our workers to organize. So if we're opening this up to all employees, we have to open it up to at least an additional unit. And I do believe one additional unit would probably likely be enough to cover the majority of our municipal workers other than our public works staff. I think I agree with Mr. Fritz on the part-time employees. I think it would be great if they could opt in because we have so many different kinds of part-time employees. We have seasonal employees. We have employees that work, anyway, Mr. Sommerone, but my question for you is, I assume that we already have a definition in our HR policy of what is a part-time employee.
Yeah, yes, we do, and we need to make some adjustment on how we treat some of our part-time employees. We recently had an audit by the Maryland State retirement system, and the state wants us to provide benefits, including pension contribution to employees that work 500 hours or more in a given calendar year.
And what do we consider a part-time employee currently?
Currently is employees that have no continuous work for 3 months at a time. So summer camps, and it's really an administrative process. We provide a temporary work assignment, personnel action form, and we just renew those part-time employees. But typically, they're not classified. They are in non-classified positions.
Okay, that's helpful. And then as far as the city retaining authority to determine final bargaining units, I feel like it's cleaner if we have a neutral third party doing that, someone who has the experience and the expertise on that. And that's sort of where I fall on those 3 items.
Okay.
Yep. I agree I would go for the multiple units. I'm not going to restate everything that everybody said. I would ask on the second question around the part-time employees. I just trying to understand the scale. So I agree that we need to have a clear definition of what is part-time and what is seasonal, but how many people are we, like what percentage of employees are we talking about? Because we do want to make sure that we are not disenfranchising or, inhibiting or prohibiting those, especially if it's a large population of our current employees. So it would be helpful to know what that breakdown is after you have clarified what the difference is between seasonal and part-time. So I'd ask that for that as well.
And if I could just, the head count, how many employees do we have right now, and how many are part-time?
So there's 2 parts to that question. So our head count on our budget book's about 250. Our part-time employees,
50 are sworn officers?
53
53.
are sworn officers.
So we're talking about the rest. And how many are part-time?
So our part-time varies throughout the year. So in the summertime, we take on over 200 part-time employees. That includes camp counselors, various aides. That also includes lifeguards. We hire more lifeguards because we have 2 pools functioning. We also have seasonal workers in public works, summer help that we call them.
So it's 200 employees overall, then an additional 200 part-time employees in the summer. Is that what you're saying?
So about 250 throughout the year, an additional 200.
And then
They're very time limited. It's just
correct.
specifically
so
for
how
a
you
role.
define that could determine whether or not they would be part of a potential bargaining agreement. Like you're basically saying you might have to, because of the audit, take a look at how you're defining that. Am I hearing that correctly?
In part, yes. So the limitation of the Maryland State Pension System, or the rule they have, if an employee works 500 hours or more in a given year. So that's whether they do that in a 4-month period or in a 12-month period. They want us to contribute towards the pension system for that individual that works 500 hours or more. There's different reasons why they'll do that. Obviously, there's a pension system, and so that's very specific to that group of employees that work 500 hours or more. There are situations where we have summer camp counselors that are with us for just that summer session, and they work for over 500 hours. So that can be that's where we have some conflict there, because these are explicitly, and we may only have them for one season.
Some of those they're college students and some high school students.
College student, part of our summer program acts as a workforce development program. We have residents that come in through the system as participants, and then they graduate from being a camp participant to being a camp counselor, and they're working through a program. They go to college, they come back and work for us. So there's some workforce development activity going on with our participant, but that's not everyone. They're obviously we hire folks as we need them for different functions.
And then the last, I would agree with having a neutral third party. And then I think Mr. Fritz has a comment.
Yeah, I think just generally most unions will have a probationary period. So, it's about 6 months on average. So it would be pretty rare for a one-term camp counselor to get into a bargaining unit. They wouldn't be paying dues long enough, I think, or they wouldn't be paying dues at all. Let me not say that. They would not be paying dues until they're off probation. So yeah, they wouldn't be paying dues. Now, it's depending on how we credit service. If they came back, they did 3 months, then they would be off probation in their third year. If they really wanted to be at the bargaining table, for a 3-month job, that's their decision. So that's my view. But I just wanted to clarify that there is normally a probationary period for almost any collective bargaining process in the United States, of normally 6 months or more.
Councilmember Niesel, what do you think?
So I also agree that it should be multiple units because Public Works came to us first. They can be represented by very specific things, and then our other employees could be represented by another more broad union. As far as part-time employees, I came in here with one opinion, and after listening to everything, I have a different one. I had originally thought that we should separate out seasonal versus part-time, but after hearing that even our seasonal employees come back year after year, it seems really right to extend it to everyone. So I would say everyone. And then I would also fully agree that we should have a third party.
Okay. Well, here's what I think. I was asking about the number of employees. So, looking at the practices of our sister municipalities in Montgomery County and Prince George's County, it seems that most of them have a police union, the FOP, and it looks as though many of them have something for public works. Rockville has one unit, but it has 3 divisions: operations, recycling, parks. For some reason, police aren't in there. So, I can't help but think about the reality of trying to negotiate packages with 3 or 4 different unions at the same time. So this model that Rockville has, certainly there's a distinction between the kinds of functions that folks in recycling or refuge or parks and grounds and social service division or other kinds of work. So I'm hard pressed to see how logistically we could really handle having separate negotiations for 3 or more unions at the same time. And with the part-time confidential employees, the seasonal employees, trying to extend the coverage to our part-time seasonal workers doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. We don't really have indication of whether our sister municipalities are doing the same thing. And with the final authority, I suppose that we could work with a third party to identify appropriate bargaining units. But how does that work with Rockville having one unit but 3 different divisions? Is that something that find in other places in Montgomery County?
Yeah. There, I would have to read their specific agreement. That might be something I could probably find it and pull it. But generally, you have kind of one unit for the top line kind of figure, right? Because you generally stew economics at the end, right? You save all the fun stuff. People want to know how big the raise is, right? That's always the biggest thing that folks are interested in. You save economics for the end, but you might have separate tables for operations, a table for recycling and refuse, and a table for parks, and they negotiate separate policies for those departments, and they negotiate policies there, and then they probably come together at the end. So it sounds like all these contracts are aligned in one process, and then the full economics go together. That's something that some municipalities want to negotiate all three at the same time. Sometimes the units split, and the police will say we're going to take a 2-year deal. Fire will say they're going to take a 1-year deal, and the general government employees will take a 3-year deal. It can vary quite widely. Now that's a much larger enterprise. That's, if you include seasonals in Montgomery County, it's tens of thousands of employees. It sounds like they negotiate one contract and then they kind of split out specific agreements for the details of different departments and the needs of specific workers. So like not everyone needs the same kind of like boot reimbursement, if you work in uniforms and those kinds of things. So they might negotiate side agreements as well.
Well, on the economics piece, Greenbelt, we've always given whatever we have negotiated on the economics in a broad sense with the FOP. We've extended the same cost of living and merit more or less to all the employees, which, I mean, we're all living in the same general area, so the cost of living is the cost of living, and merit is the merit. It seems like it's the other issues where there would be a lot of negotiations. I don't know. What do you guys think of what I just said?
I think you're right. I mean, we've been through a couple discussions, and with the police FOP and bargaining units, and I think it's difficult. I think you're gonna be all year. You're gonna have some kind of. I mean, I don't know how you want to. I don't know how you can work with ×3 what we're doing with this one. It's a tremendous undertaking, and it's we want to also say what's the financial burden on that. We're going to have to look at the financial aspect, of course.
Councilmember.
Well, just speaking to Councilmember Pope's concern about the amount of time, I recall that the last agreement that we did with the FOP was very, very quick. I think there was only one round of negotiations. And I remember kind of quipping with some colleagues that if everyone just went to the table saying what they could actually do, we wouldn't have to have all of this back and forth. But I think that I don't want to get too caught up in the amount of time it might take us, because we have seen that it can happen really quickly when we have, the right people talking to each other.
One. I think you experienced one.
In my experience,
Okay.
it's been
All
very,
right.
very
Good.
easy.
Okay. I just want to point that out. We had other situations where that was not like the case. And if you have multiple ones, you're going to run into some longer discussions, is my guess.
Okay, checking online, I don't see anybody. It's Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, for my note-taking purpose, I have you yes for a multi, no on the hourly, and third party on the third question.
I believe I said yes. Did I say yes? Did I say maybe? Yes.
Party.
Well, I think if we didn't, we'd probably get sued, and it would end up going to a third party anyhow.
Why do you think that?
Don't need to discuss it.
What makes you say that?
Well, because this is a contentious society that we're living in, and I guess as a municipal entity, we can set rules that might not work quite so well in the private sector or other sectors as far as litigation. You can't really sue the city very easily.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but
or
it's
anything,
okay.
but- It's true.
It doesn't have to.
I will say that what would and what I will continue to, I think I iterated this before, so I'll reiterate it, but it would be very helpful if the state legislature in Annapolis would set a single standard so that all workers could collectively bargain in the public sector, and we're not trying to ask every city, which I think some of our neighboring cities might look at our policy now and say, okay, Greenbelt now led the way. But it would be good to have a single standard like they do in other states that have been doing this for a long time. So I think urging our state legislators to really empower all public sector workers to have a single standard so that we don't have to, come up with each city has to come up with its own policy.
I strongly agree with you on that, and please write that down. Or city manager, someone, can you make a note of that to forward to MML as a legislative priority?
There's a bill.
There is a bill.
There's a bill now. There is
In
a bill.
fact, House Bill 831, Maryland Public Employees Collective Bargaining Expansion, would allow all government employees the right to form a union. Impasse in bargaining would result in binding arbitration, and I am happy to put that forward as a piece of legislation we would support. We could talk about that in our next session. That is being opposed by MML. So,
yes, it is.
but we can talk about that when we talk about legislation.
It's not quite the same thing, I think, as having standard that all municipalities can work from as far as the timing and the specifics of collective bargaining agreement.
You asked me to write something down. You agree with Mr. Fritz? That was one article.
Yeah, just as making a note of this conversation and the point that Mr. Fritz has brought up a couple of times, and so that we can forward it as a legislative priority to the Maryland Municipal League for their consideration next year as they are formulating their priorities. So let's open up the floor. Mr. Learman?
Trent Leon Lehrman, resident. Yeah, I just wanted to say you all have seen Public Works employees come out multiple times to the meetings, and I know that they are strongly in favor of multiple bargaining units so that they can form a bargaining unit amongst the 40 or so full-time Public Works employees in Greenbelt. And then if the other workers in Greenbelt want to form a union, then that would be a different bargaining unit. But I just wanted to make clear that what the workers want is multiple bargaining units.
Of course they do.
Well, thank you. Mr. Orleans?
Thank you. Contrary to what was said earlier, LIUNA, if Recreation Department employees wanted, or if administrative employees wanted, LIUNA could represent all of Greenbelt's employees. LIUNA would not be my first choice to represent Public Works or anybody else. But I don't have a vote in the question. If the Public Works employees want to be represented by LIUNA, and for that matter, if the Recreation Department employees, and et cetera, then that's their choice. And that's what this is all about. And it has been for as many years as the subject has come to council. Council should recognize the employees' inherent right to organize and leave it to them which organization would represent them. I apologize for that. As regards part-timers, no union, I would argue, to the union. No union should have the right to tell the city of Greenbelt or any employer that a regular part-time employee should be paid on a full-time basis. But part-timers absolutely should they choose to be represented, should they be included in the collective bargaining unit, absolutely be represented by an organization of their choice, the majority choice, and to negotiate over terms, wages, hours, working conditions, terms of their part-time employment. So as council proceeds on this question, you should not exclude part-timers potentially from joining their respective bargaining unit. And lastly, while LIUNA may represent Public Works Employees Department and maybe McGeo might represent Recreation Department, I know there's conversations, and maybe a third international union might represent other Greenbelt employees. I think personally, logistically, that would be a mistake. Ideally, all Greenbelt employees would be represented by the same local union in whichever international that local union exists. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So we're having this discussion and we're airing our views. Some of this seems to be premature because when you talk about who would be included in the unit and what the employees want, you know, if you really want to know what the employees want, you have to ask them with some specifics. They have to kind of know what the dues might be, what one union would do for them versus another, whether or not they want to go ahead in general. So I think part of this conversation is a little premature, but it gives the city manager a little bit more to work with in communicating with our lawyers and making sure that we have a productive work session. Yes, you look like you're about to say something. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask the city manager, is what you have here enough direction, or do you need more? Do you need us to take a vote so you have something more definitive?
I think this is sufficient. What I'll let the legal team know that we're looking at multiple bargaining units. There's 4 out of the current 6 members that want to see some sort of bargaining rights for part-time employees, and there's a majority, it's really of the 5 out of the 6 want to see third-party designation of what the bargaining units would be.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional discussion on this topic? Hearing none, let's go ahead and move on to getting close to the end. Getting there. So finally, we're going to review the updated tracking document for pending state and county legislation that directly impacts our municipality. Our recent advocacy is focused on climate affordability, community safety, funding, environmental protections, and preemption is always a very, very important theme. And a lot of the legislation that we look at or oppose or support has to do with Greenbelt being able to have some control, more control over its own destiny so that our interests are effectively represented and reflected in what's going on with our delegates and senators. So attached to the memo, there's a table of the General Assembly legislation and our contractors, Daryl Carrington and Jimmy Tarlow, have provided us with information. We got a week 6 legislative report. So there are several bills that we've talked about. We've been having just a brief discussion on Fridays to try and see to make sure that our contractors are tracking the bills and carrying out the instructions of council. And I think if you look closely at the tracking sheet, you'll see a couple of items where there's a discrepancy or need a little bit more clarity. So, Councilmember Pompey, you in particular wanted to cite that, and you want to go ahead and speak for a few minutes?
What was that?
On the tracking sheet, just making sure that our contractors are, tracking and responding and drafting letters and whatnot as council has prescribed.
Okay. Yeah, I was concerned earlier in the week, last week, Mr. Carrington had sent out an email listing some letters he'd sent, and some of those letters were not letters that council had approved. They were just bills that we were monitoring. But Mr. Carrington spoke with Mr. Mr. George, and confirmed that, in fact, he had not sent those specific letters, that he had just drafted them in case we decided to take action. So my concern is, I'm not really concerned about that. If that's the case, as long as those letters hadn't been submitted without council consent, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we're kind of prototyping this a little bit with council working with contractors, 2 different contractors to track bills. But you know, every year there are just more and more bills that are submitted in the House and the Senate, and it's really a lot to follow. Our Maryland Municipal League has a legislative committee, and they take stances on statewide bills that affect municipalities statewide, and they set priorities. And we're very fortunate that former council member and longtime Mayor Jay Davis is able to sit in on those meetings and listen, given her former role as a state league president. So she's been sending us updates as well. I believe there are 4 bills that were listed in the packet that we wanted to actually vote on tonight. The first was House Bill 950, Public Utilities, Street Lighting Equipment, Acquisitions and Reporting. So it's called the County and Municipal Streetlight Investment Act. So it would actually allow Greenbelt and other municipalities to purchase their streetlights by purchase or combination and convert them into LED streetlights, tariffs, and enter into agreements on our own. I don't know if I'm doing the best job of summarizing this, but it's something we've been working on, and it would actually make it a little bit easier to move ahead with this process. Councilmember Pompey, did I describe that adequately?
No, I think you did. I think that's exactly right. This is something we've been working on for a long time, and this legislation could maybe make things a little smoother.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion? I'll make a motion that we support. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion? Yeah, please.
I'm sure our residents are absolutely thrilled at the prospect that we could own the world famous Greenbelt utility pole.
Wait, now we would not be able to own the pole, but we could own the light head on top of there. Unfortunately,
Could really put a really nice, like, I don't know, Josue, if we could get some quotes for some really nice lights
let's not get
befitting
people's
of the world
hopes up, Bernie.
famous Greenbelt utility pole. It deserves a world famous utility light.
And just the prospect of finally, we've been trying to convert to LED lights for at least 10 years, and it's incredibly frustrating that it's taken this long. So if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of supporting this bill, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. There's another bill, House Bill 1123, and that has to do with farmers markets and street food vending zones. So it's a county bill, actually, PG 411-26, and it authorizes a county, Prince George's County in this case, to designate areas adjacent to a farmer's market as a street food vending zone, and requires vendors selling certain foods in a street food vending zone to meet certain requirements. It sounds kind of vague, so I think we need to track this pretty closely because it could have an impact on our farmers market. Of course, we are so landlocked, it's hard to picture where that zone would be. Maybe you could stretch out to Greenbelt Road. But on the other hand, you know, let's say we wanted to do a pop-up farmers market at Strom Hills Park or at the Armory site. We could, you know, maybe designate an adjacent zone or even at the metro station or near the metro station. So what do you think, Council? Is this something we should continue to monitor, or should we actually vote to support it? Councilmember Pompey.
I would say that we should monitor it because I'm not sure how our farmers market would feel about having a pop-up street food vending zone. They work so carefully to curate. Our farmers market is very, as you well know, as a volunteer.
That's right.
They very carefully curate all of the vendors that they have each year, and I worry that having additional food vendors would take away from our farmers market. That would be my concern.
And parallel to that, the impact that it might have on our brick and mortar vendors, you know, if there was a zone and Suddenly you can, yeah, where would that be? Okay. So do we need to vote to monitor it? I don't think we need to vote to monitor it. Another bill of interest is House Bill 1127, and that is a Prince George's County bill also. Crosswalk monitoring systems. It's an authorization. The Prince George's County bill is 323-26A. And the proposal is to create a 5-year pilot program to authorize automatic crosswalk monitoring cameras in school zones. So there'd be a $40 ticket to drivers who fail to yield to pedestrians.
Yes. we should
So advocates, it's a pedestrian safety crisis, and I think one of the sponsors, I believe it was Senator Augustine, or the horrible accident down there in Riverdale Park last year and a half ago, where a family of 3 was hit by a truck, and the child was killed. So 2 children actually. It's horrible. Do you want to make a motion? Would you like?
that we support HB 1127.
Is there a second? Okay. Is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, I'm just a question. Who then is responsible for paying for the actual, like, I agree, this is a good bill to have. We need to have the safety, but I'm just thinking of, like, for example, in front of Eleanor Roosevelt, that's state highway, right? And so is there a crosswalk that's across
Yes, there is.
Greenbelt Road? So then who then becomes responsible for paying for that? Is it state highway? Is that considered us? How does that get figured out in?
Well, there's the paying for, and there's also who gets the fine
Right.
money.
Yeah.
So I was able, when they were talking about this during the state delegation meeting on a Friday, I think it was 2 Fridays ago, there was a vendor there, Obvio, who also is running our stop sign camera program, was there sort of touting the program. So I don't know if, I'm not sure if the same setup where you would have a stop sign camera would also monitor for pedestrians. I suspect that is a possibility. Mr. Samron, do you have any insight into this?
I think I do. So the audio cameras have AI technology that can count people and serial activity. So I think they'll be using that AI technology to be able to distinguish a person walking in a vehicle.
So if that being the case, then on current installations that the city has in place, we would keep that revenue in unincorporated areas, or for new installations, maybe the county would try and put those cameras in place. I'm not sure, but I think the legislation that was in place that allowed us to place stop sign cameras in certain locations only allowed a certain number of the cameras in each district. So this is a 5-year pilot program, and I'm not sure that all of the details, the specifics have been worked out, but it sounds like something we want to support. Yes, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, there is no limit to the number of cameras that stop sign cameras that each locality can have. It's only limited by the school zones. Although they did try originally to amend the bill to have it be 10, but then it was changed again. And yeah, so as long as it's only limited by school zones now, but this doesn't seem to necessarily be limited by school zones when I'm reading the bill. Like, I think it's a crosswalk.
Okay.
So I think it almost expands a little bit on the current law, because you could put one out, seems like you could put one outside of a school zone even, and to my reading.
Councilmember Pope, I thought I saw your hand up there for a second.
No, no, but I think this one says in school. So as long as they're in school zones, I would, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it is only in school zones, you're right. Sorry about that.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, the motion is to support this bill, to monitor and support it. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and the fourth bill that we have queued up is House Bill 1142. And this is a task force to modernize county municipal revenue structures, establishing a task force to discuss and to come up with some ideas and put some things in place that would actually give counties and municipalities some new sources of revenue to study, evaluate the revenue structure of the county and municipal governments. We are so constrained with our ability to fund programs. We don't get any portion of the sales tax here in Maryland, and the state legislature and the counties have been very, very restrictive. So the challenges that we face, that our city manager faces in trying to come up with a balanced budget, it's daunting. There's just no new sources out there. So this task force, which I believe was actually proposed last year, and I thought it was approved. I think it was approved, and the governor, they had so many bills on sine die that the governor was not able to sign it. So that's why we're looking at it again. But it's one of Maryland Municipal League's priorities. They are strongly, strongly supporting this, and I believe they are. The bill is coming up for testimony this week. So, is there a motion to? Is there a motion to support this, or is?
Well, we already did.
We
Yeah,
already
we
did.
already did. We
saw
sort of,
a
we
letter.
did we did sort of an emergency letter on this because this is something that we talked about at the beginning of our, of this legislation, of this legislative session. We knew that this was coming up. We knew that this was something that we were going to support. So we have submitted testimony on behalf of this bill.
Right. So that was an emergency letter that we wrote. So we're just kind of circling back to vote on it, I think. Yeah, council member, please.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're supporting this legislation. I support it. I want to thank, in an earlier discussion, Councilmember Pompey for bringing up the school's $8 billion, needs in terms of capital investment. And, we look at the capital investment, unfunded capital investment needs here in the city as well. I know this is I think a very ripe conversation around the country. I know there's a ballot measure in California looking at a 2% wealth tax on people with net worths over $1 billion. And, when you think about that, it might sound like a big idea, but you ask our residents what they're paying in property taxes on the majority of their wealth, which is the residential property tax. It's really, we ask people to pay that much, but if you are investing that in high finance and you're a billionaire, there is a lot of wealth being generated in this country. And we really do need to get creative with how we're going to address the fiscal needs of our community. And I think a lot of that change is going to have to come from the state. But, people pay quite a bit, and I think it's worth it to live in Greenbelt, residential property taxes. But I do think that looking at asking the wealthiest people in our society, some of whom have been at the core to the efforts to try and dismantle, Goddard, and core to trying to dismantle our public institutions, do they really need to become the world's first trillionaire? I think that that's a live question for us to ask our state legislators to take on.
Well, certainly we could use some more tools in our tool belt when it comes to raising revenues, just to meet the very basic needs of individuals in our community and our collective aspirations. So I'm glad that we have already responded to this. Councilmember Pompey, are there any other issues or bills that you want to touch on? I think we were there are a number of county bills having to do with alcohol sales and permits. Yeah.
I don't think we have to take really any action on those at this point.
No, we just need to monitor them
Just
pretty
keep
closely to see if
monitoring
they
them.
have an impact on any of our Roosevelt Center merchants or other Greenbelt entities. So hearing no additional discussion on this topic and not seeing anybody else online, let's go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda, which is, what are we doing? It's council reports, council activities.
Yeah, I sent a copy to, I can either pull it up if you want to promote me, I think, or if I send it to you via email. I think Mayor Pro Tem was able to document most of the items that were in the sheet, but there were a few, I know she's on travel, that I just added from this past weekend.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I don't have my contact lenses in. I cannot see that. Let me.
I mean, I think we,
Why don't you rattle
yeah,
off some of these
yeah. I
stuff?
mean, I think we talked about. It was wonderful to have the students here from Greenbelt Middle, and thank you to the Greenbelt Black History and Culture Committee for putting on such a wonderful program this weekend. So that was just great to really be able to hear how our students are just doing some incredible work. So that was something that we wanted to share. I think we had a great turnout for the Indian Creek Master Plan, the additional meeting that happened at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center last week. So excited to see how that will move forward. I think we got a lot more out of the design firm than we anticipated. The concepts were really, really great. And I just want to advocate for, if people haven't weighed in on that, I believe it's still on the website, on the city's website, so that they can provide some feedback on that. And then I don't know if you want to talk about Troop 214, chili dinner had, and then lots of things happened at New Deal Cafe this week as well.
I just will mention that the City Stars had a performance that Councilmember Niesel and Councilmember McKinney attended. They did this great performance, just some music from The Wiz. It was incredible. And then they had jumping lessons afterwards, and it was very, very fun. And they just did a great job. It was a really fun, interactive event, and you know, I had a great time. I did not attempt the double dutch, but I believe Councilmember Niesel did. But I did not attempt that. But they were really, it was very fun and very accessible, and I thought they did a nice job.
Was that on our calendar? Because I didn't see that.
It was on the city calendar, but it wasn't on the council calendar. Councilmember Fritz?
Yes, a very quick pop-up event that was very nice, though. I want to thank our recreation department on Valentine's Day for doing a little card writing where you could write a little love note to one of your Greenbelt neighbors, and you wouldn't know who it is, but they had some snacks, some hot chocolate, and people stopped by and just decorated some cards. And I know they've also been doing something like that at the co-op as well. So, you know, a lot of Valentine's Day programming. So thank you for folks who are contributing to brightening up someone's day.
Definitely. Yeah, I want to mention we did on the 18th. Several of us were able to visit NASA Goddard, and we got a
great visit.
yeah, we got a visit and a briefing on some of the changes, and you know, they're working very, very hard on a lot of projects. And you know, NASA Goddard, they have Greenbelt in their heart. So whenever we meet with them, they are always looking for ways to be engaged, to continue, you know, the relationship. They are in Greenbelt. So I was encouraged by the discussion, you know, through these challenging times. They continue to be leading in so many ways, you know, nationally, internationally. One thing, I got appointed the National League of Cities. I'm the co-chair, or the vice chair, I guess, of the National League of Cities Advisory Board now, after coming off of the board of directors. So we had our first meeting, and we'll be working closely with the staff and with the board to try and pilot some new ideas and figure out ways to, you know, based on our experience, ways to enhance the contribution that the National League of Cities makes to all of its member entities. So busy time as always. There's always tons of things to do in Greenbelt. So that being said, let's go ahead and move to item number 18.
I just have one more thing to add.
Oh, please.
On Monday, the Council of Governments is having their second data center forum on data center development and water challenges and opportunities. And that is being held at the Reservoir Center for Water Solutions. I don't know if there's a virtual option. I don't think that there is, from 10 to 2. And I will be speaking at that event. So I just wanted to let folks know that that was happening. And I look forward to reporting back to you all on what I learned there from the panel. So
That sounds good. I was reading something today. There was an article in a Substack publication, and they were talking about the number of small data centers that are actually in existence right now in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Frederick, and Baltimore. It's very interesting. There are a few in Prince George's County right now. Hey, well, let's go ahead and move on to item number 18, I guess, which is the calendar. And each of you has an updated calendar in front of you. We've needed to add a couple of executive sessions on that and shift a couple of things around with the budget hearings. So if you can take a look at this, would someone like to make a motion for the?
let's tell folks what we added here.
Go ahead.
I believe, I'm not sure. I think we added, is the closed session on the 9th? Is that the new one?
That's correct. We added 2 closed sessions, and we've struck through the
Yeah, we
meeting
won't
with the
have
Board
a
of
work-
Elections.
Yeah, there will be no work session this Wednesday. The Board of Elections had to cancel. And then we'll be having a closed session on personnel matters on the 9th, immediately following the regular meeting. And we'll be having another closed session on personnel matters on the 11th, immediately following advisory board committee meeting,
And
committee interviews.
And also later, I guess after our Greenridge House work session budget, we will be adding an executive session to talk about personnel issues. Yeah. Yeah,
and
please
we
go ahead.
swapped the work session for collective bargaining and the council meet and greet, correct?
We did. That should be,
That was approved at a prior meeting. but
Okay,
yes.
great.
was Wednesday, and the work session is on Monday, the 2nd.
The location for the meet and greet would be La Curva.
You all join us.
Okay. So, Councilmember McKinney, please.
That I wanted to point out is, I think I might have requested this before, but in one of these upcoming either budget work sessions or just regular work sessions that we have, if we can try to do one of the work sessions outside of the city center. And so I don't know where that necessarily makes sense as far as subjects or topics are concerned. But that obviously gives people an opportunity to be able to attend them differently, especially if there are people who want to walk or go to that and they can't get to the city center. So I just want to raise that. I don't know which one that is, but if we can look to try to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment there of doing things in different locations. So the Greenridge House is there at the Greenridge House, and maybe there's another one of these budget sessions. Yeah, maybe there's another one of these budget sessions that we can move
Yeah,
to the east or the west. Oh, please go ahead.
The challenge we see with the work session is that our work sessions, they're not required to be streamed. We can record them. But we stream our meetings, our work sessions. So if we could, or not do live streaming and just record them, I think that would make it easier to host it in any part other than here. So that would be the trade-off.
Understood.
Is that something that council will be?
I would be amenable to that.
I would also.
Only for one.
It's been difficult when we've tried to broadcast, live stream, or just record even some of the meetings that we've had off center, because in the various venues that we've tried, the acoustics have been so bad. Of course, the acoustics in here are not all that great either, but sometimes when we've done things over at the recreation center over at Spring Hill Lake, the acoustics are just bad. You know, you can't really, the echo, you can't really hear what's going on very well.
I do think that the town hall that we did in the other room of Spring Hill Lake last week, that worked perfectly, I feel like. The acoustics were much better in that room than the large gym. So that's another potential location. I hear you. I am open to if we can't stream, but I would like to try to be able to engage and have some of our topics and conversations out into the community. And like I said, I'm open to what topic makes the most sense. especially if we're not going to stream, we can talk about that.
Okay, Councilmember Fritz, you had your hand up, I believe, for a moment.
Yeah, I just wanted to share an opportunity with a group that I recently joined. It's called Local Progress. It's a network for local elected officials. They have trainings and resources for local governments, working on a variety of different issues, including housing, public safety, and other resources. And they announced that their national convening is going to be in Baltimore this year, so it'll be very local. It'll be a national convening right in our backyard, and it'll be July 9th through 11th. So there's no cost to join the network. It's a free resource for any local official or local office. But I just wanted to make sure that colleagues were aware of that opportunity. And it seems like a great network of people. And I'm looking forward to going in Baltimore on July 9th through 11th. But want to make sure that all colleagues knew about that opportunity.
Okay, and circling back on the work session, please.
Yes, I was just looking at the list of work sessions that we have scheduled. I was wondering if maybe recreation or public safety could be held outside city center, since those are things where I would really love to hear what other people have to say, since I don't hear it all the time.
Okay.
Budget session, you mean?
Yeah, the
Yes,
budget
yes.
session.
Those are, I was going to suggest recreation myself, so I think those are great suggestions.
I think public safety is a good suggestion also.
We could have both of them.
We could.
We could do recreation at Spring Hill Lake and public safety over at Trom Hills. I don't know, it's a tiny classroom, isn't it?
We could ask Greenbrier, though. They would probably give us that space.
That's
We
true.
could ask Windsor Green. We could ask Hunting Ridge as well. I mean, they all have large rooms. Same with the lakes at Greenbelt Village. The room's a little bit smaller. But let's work on that.
We have to communicate. We're not stream, so that there's not the expectation of people waiting for the streaming to happen.
Okay. Let's see. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the calendar as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the agenda. Could I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Oh, man.
I want to know if any made it, you know.
Yeah, you're in pretty good shape.
All right, good.
Thank you for
Yeah,
running this.
but I wasn't talking about APD.
Or am I allowed some of this?
We had a whole meeting.
Am I allowed some?
In APD.
No, you want some before you go? Go. For sure.
In the APD.
Good.
You'll always find that